Ladies and gentlemen, today's podcast, Jay Larson.
This is Bertcast.
Not that, like, it's not that, by the way, there's a brand new setup, new microphones.
I love them. They're beautiful.
Yeah. I said to Rogan, I was like, I won't say his number, but he's taking shit to the next level. He's got a new studio. Mm-hmm. And I was with him. Did the last interview in the old studio. And I was like, yeah, man, I dropped some cash on my podcast. He's like, good. It's about time. And then I saw his fucking setup, and I was like, oh my God, you actually built a room to look like the old, like you built a room to look like the old podcast.
That's
in a warehouse. Dude, his is next level. It really inspired me. I think I know what I want out of life. But here's what I'll say about you that is something I don't have that you have that I wish I had because I'd utilize if I did. You are a man of many interests.
Yeah,
you
for
find
sure.
passion very quickly in things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have certain things that I'm interested in. That doesn't mean I find passion. I mean, you know, like people that you like talk to, and you're like, "Hey, man, you ever heard of you ever see these old Triumphs?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, they started making those Triumphs in 1962." And you're like, "Dude, how do you know about that?"
Yeah, Bill Burr.
Bill
Burr. You talk about a truck, and he's like, "Dad, the problem with the 72s," and you're like, "I didn't know anything about that shit."
Yeah, this 72s thing,
You're like Rogan in a way. Like, he finds shit. I've never heard him break it down like this until the other day, but he was like, dude, I find stuff I'm interested in, and then I just immerse myself in that shit.
Yeah, well, that dude's hardcore about that stuff,
but you're
too.
like that.
I am, but my shit's not like Rogan's like such a... I'm like a total dudes dude, but if you ask me like my crazy interests, I'll be like, yeah, well, I just, I get Veranda Magazine, and I get Better Homes and Gardens, and I like design, and I like...
Why don't you have a show on DIY or HGTV?
I mean, I had a show for a while, but, the bar show. But that other stuff...
Show. That introduced me to Sean Patton.
Oh, really? That's why I was?
Yeah, that's the entire... There was an episode you guys did where you were clearly drunk, and it was... I could see it was going off the rails because I was watching you try to reel it back in.
Yeah.
Sean was out of his fucking mind, and I watched your eyes dart from producer to cameraman. Like, I watched you produce
I
it.
was always pulling it back in, dude.
You
I was
were the
shit.
producer of that show.
Yeah.
Entirely. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I think, my buddy Dan Adler could probably...
Danny!
Say is like, guys like us, we go in and produce and direct the show as well as shoot it and host it.
Well, when you're a host, dude, that's ultimately what you do. You have to be able to steer it. I mean, you can't be like calling people out while you're shooting, They used to have, there was this one time where they tried to throw, like, they wanted to do this little bit, and I was just like, I'm not doing this bit. We came around the corner, and there was this guy, like one of our producers, like having a cigarette, and they had set it up where Sean would ask the guy for a cigarette.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, yeah. And we're sitting there shooting, and as soon as the guy pulled a cigarette, I just took it and broke it in half. I'm like, he don't need a cigarette, dude. And we walked away, and they're like, what are you doing? I go, you know what I'm doing. Let's move on.
Dude, I did a show, and I had a great time doing it, but I did a show for Showtime about Amsterdam, and it was a lot of setup bits. The funniest parts were the parts that weren't set up.
Of course.
Any setup bit that a comedy writer comes in, we were talking to someone about doing a show, and they were like, hey, we should have these two writers come in. I was like, no, like, the only strength of a writer is, and no, I'm not shitting on writers, is they can write jokes. A lot of times in, like, what me and you have done, which is that, like, hosted reality, when you get a writer, they just clumsy it up.
Well, let's be honest. What you and I do for stand-up is we go live our life, and then we go report back and bring it to the stage, which is not all comedy writers. That's not what they do. They create fake scenarios and make them funny for actors. But, for us, that's just not what we do, man.
It's actually the opposite. Here, pull that. Oh, yeah, here, yeah. Thank you. But you're like, you just in the backyard, you pulled up that picture. You're like, here's the thing. You know what I do back in this space? Like, I'd love for you to have a design show, but a design show, like, you're not, I don't think you could put your interests in design in a box. I don't think you could be like,
yeah, no way.
He's the bros bro.
Yeah.
You'd be like almost, like, I don't know, like the fact that you brought me a bottle of wine for the podcast, or the first time you came, you brought me that bottle of limoncello.
Yeah,
like,
man.
That you have interests that are beyond just being a comic. And it was one of the things when I first started this business. I'm going to stop right here. Tell me about your new special. Because I'm going through the special thing, and that is the first thing.
Sure, but we can get,
We'll get back to this.
Okay,
but
cool.
I want to know about your new special.
It's out October 20th. I don't know when you're going to drop this, but
I'll drop it whenever you want me to.
It's available for pre-order anyway.
Where is it going to be?
It's at my website. I paid for it. I produced it. I made the whole thing.
Okay.
And now I'm releasing it on my site.
Can I now are you allowing people to leak it online?
I have no idea what the site allows. I have no idea. I'm going to put like clips out from the special. I prefer people buy it just because I paid for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, however it gets out there, I want people to see it. So like if people get it and it gets out there, I still hope that there are other people that like watch it and like, oh man, I'll go pay the $6 now because it's $6. You know what I mean? You got that in change in your car, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever.
What did you name it?
Me being me. Because it's literally like, it's real honest stuff about like, you know, me rooting for my wife's cancer to go all the way. You know what I mean?
Wait, your wife had cancer?
A little bit in her foot. I mean, come on. That's like, it's like losing a toenail, you know?
A little bit. I'm
not trying to be insensitive to anyone that's had to deal with that. But like, you know, a lot of it for me was like, you know, I think in today's day, like, put it this way. Let me just give you an example. I had this set for the Tonight Show that I gave them, and the booker wrote me back and was like, dude, I laughed out loud the whole set. I could never air any of this. There was no swearing, but it was like stuff that's like people wouldn't get behind. And I'm looking at it like 60% of marriages now are ending in divorce, and it's because we're hiding behind these ideals of what we think a marriage should be, when if we actually get down to like the truth of what marriage is, it's so tough. Like, you're a great example, man. You and your wife have such a strength and a bond, and you put out there, you never stop being you. You know what I mean? And you never stop like, hey, this is who I am and this is how our marriage continues to work, because you keep being you and you're honest about it. The more we share with the world about how things really are, it helps you survive, and it helps other couples be like, oh, good, I'm not the only one. You know what I mean?
I think you're right. I think what has happened in this business, the way they represent marriage, is the way they think that everyone wants their marriage to be, as opposed to what their marriage really is.
Yeah. Or like every sitcom is the wife being like, you can't do that. And he's like, oh, she won't let me go.
Yeah.
Where is that happening anywhere? You have like one out of your 12 guy friends and you're like, dude, what are you doing, bro?
I was saying to someone the other day, I was like, I had a conversation today with my daughters that probably not a lot of parents have. But I was like, hey, have you guys noticed a difference in me in October? And they're like, I was like, not really. I said, because they know I'm doing Sober October. Mm-hmm. They know that Joe wouldn't quit smoking weed. They know that Ari has had problems with not smoking weed. They know that Tom has a sugar addiction. Like, they know things that maybe you shouldn't know. Mm-hmm. And
or that we hide because we don't know what our kids are capable of understanding, or when do you expose them to that.
Yeah, and they're like, you've been a lot calmer. You don't, like, lose your shit as much. I go, really? And they're like, yeah, like, in the morning sometimes you'll be overwhelmed. But you haven't been overwhelmed. You've been really calm. And I was like, okay. Part of me is like, do I ask the next question? Like, yeah, stay like this. And then Georgia goes, but you're not as fun at parties.
That is hilarious,
really,
dude.
Yeah, like, because the other night everyone came over, and my wife's always one that's like 5 minutes, everybody. 5 minutes and we're all going home.
Yeah.
Everyone came over the other night, and I had done hot yoga, 90 minutes of hot yoga, ran 7 miles in the morning, watched some football, college football, cooked for everyone, and after dinner I was like, I'm going to bed. Yeah. Like, I'm fucking exhausted. Now, if I was drinking, I probably would have gotten the midnight oil and been like,
of course,
let's all go out to the man cave, let the kids keep playing. And I literally call 5 minutes at 11 o'clock. I go at 11 o'clock, I go, everyone's going home. Yeah. And my daughters are like, okay. They're like, we're watching a movie. And I was like, I'm going, either everyone can go home and I'll go to bed normally, or I can just go to bed and you guys can stay here. My wife's like, all right, everybody, time to go.
Dude, but let me just say, the thing that I love the most of what you just said is, you said my kid's like, you don't lose your shit as much. My son's 3, and one time when my wife goes out of town a lot for work, so I'm alone with the 2 kids, and I was like, he had this meltdown, and then I calmed him down, then he melted down, and I calmed him down. He was just hungry and had to eat. I was trying to get the bath in real quick, and in the bath, he started crying again, because I was like, all right, I'm going to take your sister and get her dressed. You stay here. Yeah. And he melted down, and I like held his face, and I go, what do you want me to do? And later on, like, I take him out to dinner, and he goes, are you angry, Dad? Are you mad, Daddy? And I go, get over here. I go, I'm not mad. I go, make me happy. You're the best thing's ever happened to me. I'm like, one thing you got to know about your dad, sometimes he runs a little hot. Sometimes dad's going to lose it. And
my daughters call it firing hot.
that's what I mean, dude. If anyone had said that to me about my dad, and maybe we had just worked it out instead of everyone trying to change everyone, just being like, hey, some people have a little bit of a temper. You can work at it, which I do. But at the same time, it's like, don't take it personal. Now my son comes home with the book the other day from school, and it's got all these different flowers on it, and they all have a different emotion. And he points to the red one, and he goes, "That's you, Daddy." And it's like the anger one. And I was like, hey, that's who I am. Every now and then, I'm passionate.
It's not bad. We're not beating the fuck out of our kids with a 2x4, which is what happened when we were children. Is those dads that fired hot or drank too much? There was no. They were like, and you can hit your kids every now and then. Now we're just like, yeah. My neighbors heard me screaming one time in the house, and they were like, and I came outside, and they were like, hey, they were like standing right there. They were like, hey, is everything okay? And I went, yeah. Why? And they're like, whoa, I just heard some screaming. Like, what's going on? And I said, oh, the girls are camping. I'm just with the animals. And they're like, you were just talking to your animals like that?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no one's in the house. It was just me. But it's not like I'm screaming at them. I'm screaming like, who wants to eat?
Yeah.
Like I'm yelling. I'm a loud person.
Oh, my son like if I go to him now, I go, I'm gonna count to 3, and that's how I say it, and he starts moving because I've never done anything, but he knows like if I get stern, that's the way it should be. You shouldn't be like anyway, whatever.
I will say stuff like, if you want, I can beat the living shit out of you, or we can do it as a joke.
Yeah.
And if now someone heard that, they'd be like, oh my God, this is a horrible parent. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah, I have no idea what you consider good or bad, but what I'm saying is there needs to be an explanation to your family of who you are, and we should stop trying to change people instead of like, yeah, obviously some people are out of control, but at the same time, like some things you're like, hey, this is what it is, you know? You can still be a good parent and have flaws, a lot of flaws.
Did you see, I think it's, I was reading about virtue signaling last night. Do you know what virtue signaling is?
No, but I feel like the door is about to close, and you're like, listen, let me just tell you about what this...
I wonder if we're going to be doing that all day.
Good Lord.
They were supposed to come.
Do you realize you're getting an in-ground pool, dude?
I know.
Do you know what that is? Do you remember when kids got in-ground pools when you were a kid? I remember Rye Young got one. We're like, what?
Dude.
You get an in-ground pool?
You're the first one that appreciated my above-ground pool. Remember when you guys came over and I had that above-ground pool?
Yeah.
So this is virtue.
I mean, that
signaling.
wasn't even really a pool, though.
That was it.
I mean, even for above ground pool standards,
Well,
that was like,
you know, when we just got rid of one that was it was 12 by 20.
I saw it.
It was a fucking beast.
How much? I mean, you got to tell me later what that thing costs.
We ended up selling it back online for 2/3 of what we bought it for.
Amazing. And just collapses and you can just break it
You
down?
can break it down. It was fucking great. Virtuous signaling is the conspicuous expression of moral values done primarily with the intent of enhancing standings within a social group.
Okay,
So,
I would have to read that.
how bad is that? You want to shut those doors for me?
Are you okay? I'm okay with this.
No, yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah. I mean, we're just going to get...
Yeah.
You leave it a little cracked, but just so it cuts out most... There, that's perfect. So, guys, that's Halston in the background. Virtue signaling is Al Michaels last night. Did you hear what he said?
No.
Al Michaels last night said the Giants have had a rough week. They've had a rougher week than Harvey Weinstein. And everyone was outraged. Now,
So virtue signaling is...
no, it's not that. It's the tweets people put out. Yeah, no way, Al Michaels. How about having some respect for the victim? Like, it wasn't even really a joke. It was a joke saying Harvey Weinstein's had has had a bad week. He's had a really bad week.
Yeah.
It's been maybe the roughest week we've ever seen anyone have, other than Bill Cosby. Like, in celebrities, I can't imagine someone who's had like, Mel Gibson was like, man, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like, he earned it. He did it on his own. But the fact that people would then put a tweet out going, just so you know, I stand with the victims. And you're like, yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
None of us are for rape. None of us are for sexual assault. Why are you saying that out loud? That's virtue signaling. When you say something that, so everyone goes, oh, he's one of the good ones. Like, there's this guy, this actor.
So you're using someone else's misfortune to
Explain
switch
that you're
other
good.
people that you're
To explain you're a good person.
Got
it's
it.
basically putting your virtues out that are kind of going spoken. Like, hey guys, I'm not for Trump. And you're like, yeah, we get it. Like, a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
I don't like these neo-Nazis. None of us do. Why the fuck are you telling us that?
Yeah.
By you saying that,
I think neo-Nazis have a problem with neo-Nazis.
like, so I'm obsessed with virtue signaling. I don't know where this came in this conversation, but I'm obsessed with virtue signaling because it's the thing that drives me nuts online. There was this guy who booked a Woody Allen movie. I don't know his name. I'm not going to say his name because he think he wants me to say. He's an actor.
And then someone said, "Oh, that's cool if you support someone who..."
No. This is quite the opposite. He shot the movie. It's in the can. And then he booked the movie, shot it, wrapped, and then I think it's coming out now. And he came out and said, "Just so you know, I think what Woody Allen might have done is horrible." And like gave this big rant about he believes that he molested his children. He's not for molestation. And it was like everyone's like, "Dude, are you
What? Who is ever gonna be like, "Hey, man, I just got to be honest with you. I'm pro molestation, dude."
Yeah. Well, okay. That's a really interesting subject because there was a movie that came out with Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer.
I have no idea.
Okay. By the way, I'm online way too much.
You are online a lot.
Armie Hammer, I think is his name. He.
Should I know him, or are you just saying
he played the Lone Ranger. When Johnny Depp culturally assaulted Native Americans
and played Tonto?
Yeah, and played Tonto.
Yeah.
By the way, this is such a fucking tangled necklace.
Did you just virtue?
I think I might have.
I think you just did it right there. Yeah.
This is such a tangled necklace in liberal morals right now.
I don't know where we are.
I'm getting lost. So Armie Hammer, whatever his fucking name is, Armie Hammer said. Did a movie where he played a 20. By the way, I don't know the facts, so I'm just rounding them off. Played like a 20-year-old guy who had an affair with a 17-year-old boy, which is rape. It is rape. It is what Milo Yiannopoulos said is natural in homosexual relationships. Milo Yiannopoulos said this is natural. Everyone tore him down. Armie Hammer did the same thing in this movie. James Wood tore him down. Then David Cross's girlfriend then attacked James Woods and said, "You tried to fuck me when I was 17. You've been doing it your whole life." And it's just this cyclical thing of like, ultimately.
But then isn't it like if you're in high school and your girlfriend's 17 and you're 18, you have sex, then is that considered rape?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is rape. By the way, that happened a lot when I was growing up. It's like a 16-year-old girl would date a 21-year-old guy. And everyone was cool with it. And I remember when I was 16 being like, I don't think she should be dating him. Like,
isn't it like fine if your parents give consent?
If your parents give consent, I guess it is.
I think it is because I remember like hearing something like about marriage at that point. Like you need to get like people to like if you want to get married and you were like 17 and the person was like 19 or something like that.
At 18, I never dated any. Well, no, I did. At 18, I dated a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? No, yeah. At 18, my girlfriend was a freshman in high school. Right?
I mean, you could be 18 as a senior and she could be 15 as a sophomore. Or
is she a fucking freshman?
Or a freshman.
Yeah, she was a freshman. And no. She was a sophomore. She was 16. I was 18. Because she came to Florida State when she was the hottest chick at Florida State, and everyone was going after her, and we were still friends. We're still friends to this day. She's actually even more beautiful today than she was then. But I don't know where this goes. This goes into this like outrage of going like, yo, people are just saying the things that like, and the other thing that's driving me nuts, and I don't know why I got on this subject, but is like these people who do news, like go on press junkets when they don't really have a dog in the fight. They're just virtue signaling.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that's the other problem with like social media now and all this stuff is that people need to get involved in one thing so that they don't want to be left out of any conversation.
Yeah. Like the James Corbin thing. Did you see that?
No.
Jay, what do you do with your days?
You want to know my day?
Yeah.
No, this is my day.
Walk me through your day.
I get up at 7.
Okay.
Because the youngest gets up and either my wife takes her or I'll take her. And preschool? Then what's that?
Oh, just takes her like
into the living room and like hangs out.
I can't remember. I remember those days.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
How old's your youngest?
She's 2. And then so then like this morning, she got up with her, and then at 7:30, I hear like my son's up now. So then I get up, I go in the room, I make breakfast. We all hang out till 8:30. That's usually when the nanny gets there.
Yeah.
Then I'll shower or not shower, go down the hill to my office and start working. And then if it's school days, I'll drop him at school, and then I'll come back, pick him up at 12:30, go back to the office, get home at 5:30. I make dinner. Then from 5:30 to 6:30 is eating dinner and stuff. 6:30 we go for a walk around the neighborhood, come home. Then it's 7. Then it's quick baths. Then it's the 2-year-old down. Then it's him down by 8, and then I usually leave for a show.
Good God.
And then I get home from the show around like 10:30 or 11, and I crash, dude. I haven't watched like TV, and I never go like you see my Twitter follow. I have 18,000 Twitter followers. It's not like I'm super involved. I'm not like, it's just like I'm trying to, I've always tried to like write and create shows. So I go to my office every day trying to create stuff. I can't even keep up. Like, I don't even know what I think of a tweet. And I'm like, nah, it's not that good. And then I just leave it.
Really?
I'll check CNN, ESPN. Online, that's it. And
really? That's my problem. Is I come back to the man cave, I start to write, and then I get on to some chat. I wish I could. Amber Tamberlin is David Cross's wife.
Okay.
Wife.
But let me just say this: you and Rogan are like those kind of guys that have the ability to like do so much stuff, you know what I mean? And I am like super compartmentalized. Like, I can't like start a project in my garage to build something and then just leave it for like 4 days and go back to it. I take one day and it's done.
Yeah.
I go to the office and I'm just like, I can't start writing and then go do something else. I just can't.
I like that. It's like plate spinning.
Yeah, I mean, I can spin other plates like at home, like when I'm cooking and getting the kids to bed and putting on records and doing all that. But when it comes to like,
I love doing
being creative.
Bits. I love doing it with bits. Like right now, I'm plate spinning a bit about how America hates poor people, because it's convoluted into race.
Funny, dude.
That people think it's race.
Yeah.
What I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you. We're not going to run the bit by you, but I'll tell you what started it, which I found fascinating. And by the way, sometimes I think that stand up these days isn't so much about. I love a premise. I like a slow revealed premise. I like something that starts out, and I have to say this, maybe one of the best stories. I have like a handful of best stories I've ever heard. One of the best ones is your Conan bit.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's one of the best.
That wrong number story.
It's the best.
It's my machine, dude.
It's the best. It's just such a slow. I love your pacing in it.
Yeah.
I love your lines. I wish I have wanted to steal your line in there every time I tell a story.
Let me guess.
Go ahead.
That's why we play the game?
That's why we play the game.
Yeah, a couple of people love that. I love that line too, because it's like, I look at life like it's a game. I know you do too.
Yeah,
I mean, Jesus
fuck yeah.
Christ. That's what we do, man.
We play the game. But the premise is Georgia, we played a softball team. Georgia's team played a softball team that was way up in Van Nuys. Mm-hmm. And I should really whisper this. But she gets in, they were really aggressive. They were stealing home. Literally, the coach was like, when they walk you, run to second, run to third. And let them, they'll try to throw it to you. They're going to throw an error, and then we'll just score. I mean, you can only score 5 runs in an inning. Uh-huh. This coach was, the first 5 kids up would all score.
Damn.
And they were really aggressive. So Georgia gets in the car. Georgia's super sweet. Not like Isla, who's a little more aggressive. Uh-huh. Georgia's super sweet, staring out the window. And I can see her just chewing on something. I go, baby, what's up? She goes, Daddy, I think I don't like Mexicans, because they were all Mexican. I go, oh no, baby, you don't like poor people. I go, that's what it is. They're poor. That's what you're disliking, is their socioeconomic class. You're confusing that with their skin color because you're too young. You're not insightful enough. But
I don't know if it's about age. There's tons of people that still make that mistake. We always lump people together.
Yeah. 100%.
But why you're saying...
That's what America does that.
Yeah.
America does that consistently. And I go, what you don't see is stuff I see. Like, I see the way that coach is dressed. I see that he's got a really aggressive protector on his phone, like an OtterBox. That means that phone's very valuable to him. You see, I don't have a case on my phone, because if I break it, I'll buy a new one. But that coach, if he breaks it, he's fucked. Yeah. So and I'm trying to whittle apart, and then
that guy just values $1.
Yeah, and he puts that on those children. The only opportunity some of these kids will have to go to college is to get a scholarship. That's the truth. And that's why they are hustling. And it's a flaw in our society is that you don't have that stress on you. You know, I started a college fund for you fucking 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, if you decide to go to college, then that money's waiting for you. Like, so you don't, softball is just a fun thing for you. It's not like a means to an end for some, as it is for some kids.
Yeah.
So I witnessed that experience, and then I go, okay, that's not formed yet. So instead of sitting and beating myself up and writing it, what I do is I keep it as a spinning plate, and then every softball game I go to, like the one yesterday, I start rewriting it again.
Yeah, I hear that.
And I just go, oh yeah, let's work on that bit.
Well, dude, some of the best jokes I have is like, dude, what was that joke I worked on 2 years ago that never turned into anything? And then I bring it back. I was literally on the way here, was just thinking about it because I'm driving here and some dude just like pulls into my lane, no directional. And I want to be like, hey man, you don't just pull. This is my lane, dude. I let you in.
Yeah.
You ask by putting on a directional and then I decide if I have the room or the spacing, then I let you in. It's the same as way when I get to a four-way stop. If I'm there first, don't be waving me, dude.
Yeah.
I'm the one in charge here. You just got here. I'll tell you can go. You don't pull up when I'm already there and say, go ahead, because you're going to roll through that stop.
Yeah.
Stop your stop, dude.
I saw a Russian guy pulling out of John's up on Magnolia.
Look at you. You talk about freaking racially or economically profiling just because the guy pulled out of John's and not Vaughn's. And now he's Russian? How was he Russian all of a sudden?
It's all that hangs out of John's. It is. I will even stereotype it even more. It is Russian people who have small businesses that have like restaurants because that's where they do all their produce shopping. I mean,
really?
Every time I've been in line, there is someone buying fucking 20 pounds of onions, 20 pounds of radishes, and I'm always like, motherfucker.
Can we just get rid of radishes? What are you putting radish in anything?
No idea.
Decorating a plate at Denny's. Same with parsley. What are you putting parsley? Outside of a meatball once in a while?
I fell in love with radishes when I was in Russia.
For what?
I think they pickle them, and they're really good.
Yeah, maybe pickled. Anything's good pickled.
So this guy pulls out, and by the way, I'm also profiling his look, okay?
Of course.
He has a Tom Segura tank top on. Tom buys the cheap tank tops at Target that have the G7, that little...
No. I don't own a tank top.
Yeah, Tom owns a lot of them. I see him in them every fucking day.
And he wears them underneath the shirts he's wearing?
He wears them everywhere.
Like, what does he think? It's 1950s Brooklyn?
I think he covers up his shoulder hair with them.
That's not... he's not covering up that shoulder hair.
And so... The guy's wearing Tom's tank top. He's got a full head of hair, black hair, and he's in like a little bit of a tricked out, smaller Mercedes SUV, and he's trying to get out onto Magnolia to take a left, and this little like bug of a those little Fiats, those little baby blue Fiat pulls up and blocks it. Typical, by the way. I am not virtue signaling. I think I'm being sexist right now. Typical woman behavior. Be completely oblivious that there is someone trying to turn left and just blocks him. It was a woman. My wife does it all the time. That's why I'm clumping all women in this. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of men that do it, but I see that as women have never had physical confrontation sometimes with like the fact that a fist fight could break out.
Yes.
So they just see it and then they're like, what? Like my wife will gridlock and go, what? It was my turn. And I go, no, that's not how it works. Because I know that the fist fight might break out, I won't gridlock.
Yeah.
You know that no one's going to come out and beat you the fuck out of you. She blocks him, and I see him getting angry. And he's looking at me going, fuck, now this is the guy that's got to let me in. And I'm asking the guy behind to let me in. I look at him and I wave him. I'm not being cool, but I go like this. And then the woman takes her time and says something to him. He reaches into his car, pulls out a Gatorade bottle, and throws it at her car.
Yikes.
And it goes into her window.
I mean, that's how you send the message.
He pulls out, and then she does a U-turn and starts chasing him. And I'm thinking, best case scenario, what happens? You have not thought this through.
Maybe she's getting a license plate.
Ooh. That's so funny. I thought physical confrontation immediately.
Well, the only reason I know is because I had a guy throw a can at me one time. And I called the cops, and I think this guy just assaulted me. And they go, what happened? I go, he threw a can at me at my car. And they go, why don't you just keep driving? And I was like, all right.
I had a guy. I had two interactions when I was younger that I always wanted to turn into bits, but they never materialized for whatever reason. One was I was pulling out of Crunch across from the the Laugh Factory. But I was pulling onto the side street, not onto Sunset, the side street. I was pulling out, and a van was like a minivan was pulling out, and he blocked me, and I went ugh, and I honked at him, and he started yelling at me, and I said to him, I can't hear you, because his windows were up. And so he rolled his windows down and tried to spit on my car and spit all on the inside of his car.
Shut up.
And I could not stop laughing. And he just got so incensed that he spit all over his own car.
Yeah.
Like clearly he wasn't a spitter. The other one was I was on La Brea going up to Franklin. Over by, there used to be a little bar on the left that also, there was an ice cream shop that sold rose petaled vanilla ice cream.
I mean, look at the two things you just outed yourself at. This is bar and an ice cream shop. I mean, it's just gold.
So, and I cut a guy off and I didn't realize he did it. And he pulled up next to me and started yelling at me, but my window was up. And I did the same thing. I can't hear you. And then he kept yelling. And then I said, wait 1 second. And I gave him the sign like I wanted to order my check. I go, can I get my check? And he went, huh? And I took off.
What?
I don't know.
What did that mean?
It was the only thing I knew how to communicate silently to somebody.
Yeah.
Like that and choking. I'm choking. Like,
Yeah.
I just went, can I get my check? And I always wanted that to be a bit, but it was too like, you remember when we were younger and I felt like we were all writing bits that could very easily slide into Dane's act.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that? Like,
Well, I mean, the first night I did stand-up, Dane closed that show. That was the first time I ever saw Dane cook, and I was just like, oh, my God.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, immediately I was like super influenced by him when I was early on.
All of us were.
Yeah. So it was
For
like,
everyone that shit on Dane, I always find it. But you had an ability to straddle two sides of the fence, in my opinion.
What do you mean?
Like you were always really good friends with a lot of like more alt comics, and you did a lot of. I think that was one of like you, even Segura was like that.
Yeah.
Like you guys had a.
Well, I never really, I never like saw any. I mean, you got to think of it like this. In high school, I was in the marching band. I was also on the baseball team and the soccer team. You know what I mean? So like, I've always been like with nerdy kids, cool kids, whatever. It never really mattered to me. And I always saw my stand-up as like, I just wanted to make people laugh. I didn't care where I had the chance to do it. So I didn't know any better except to just like go wherever I could do to get stage time.
Did you see that? Like I always say, you, Segura, Sickler, you, Segura, and Sickler are the only ones I can think of right off the top. Maybe even Fultron.
Full charge for sure.
We're all like a class below me age-wise. So you're just younger than me. I think we're all at the same level, but like you guys were just younger than me. So my influences or my my peer group, the guys I started with were all either alt or regular comic. You either did the clubs or you did the alt
100%, yeah.
Did you ever see, because I couldn't see it so much in my peer group, would you ever look like the guys my age and go, oh, they're cutting their nose off to spite their face when it comes to comedy, and they're just applying to their, either in regular comics or alt comics. Do you ever see that where they're like an alt comic that you're like, oh, he'll never be able to work both rooms?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, I used to see all the time, but like when I started, the only way to get stage time was I started my own room. You know what I mean? Like I had my own room. World Cafe in Santa Monica.
Oh, I never did that.
And that was like, what I started doing was I saw dudes that I love, like Sebastian and Ernst and stuff like that, and I would invite, and Pepitone, and I'd be like, come do my room. And then I got passed at the store, so I was always at the store, and then I became boys with Swartzen, and he would take me out a little bit, and he would take me to Largo and like Comedy Death Ray. So I was doing like super alt rooms, and my comedy was working there, but then I was also doing clubs, like doing road work. Like I got to open for you. Remember I opened for you in Miami?
Oh, yeah, we have that picture
That
still out there.
That infamous photo, man. I was like 40 pounds lighter.
Were you really?
Yeah.
I bet I was too.
I bet, yeah.
Oh, that was a fun weekend.
Oh my God.
We hung out with that really beautiful couple. You remember them?
No,
I do.
I mean, there's a lot of things I don't remember.
I remember that couple. They were both doctors, and they lived down in the Grove. And they're like, we come to all your shows, and I was like, really? I was like, I've only seen you once. I would definitely remember you two. You're both gorgeous.
Yeah.
But what was the like? I think that's part of why I love that story so much. And Gary Goldman once said this to me.
I mean, well, there's another one who's like straddles that line, and like I don't think gets enough respect in that alt community of like how good Gary Goldman is,
because he's the Jewish hammer. He's the Adonis.
He is, and he's squeaky clean,
and he played football at BC, like started and played football. He is a bro. He's a hardcore bro. He doesn't mind raising his voice at you or challenging you as a man. He doesn't have a problem going, hey, man, if you're going to talk to me like that, then that means we might fight. So if you're ready to fight, and there's a lot of guys that are like, wait, what are you talking about fight? I get to tell you you're a piece of shit and walk away.
Yeah.
And Gary's like, nah, man, that's not how I grew up.
That's not how it goes.
And I think Gary grew up as a man, but one of the things he said that I always took as a huge compliment that I think applies distinctly to you is that our styles are very much mine less than yours. Mine a lot less than yours, but like are very straddly in that we like those stories. We like to slow our pacing down. We like to kill. We like to go up and destroy and have a great set, but we also don't mind taking our time with a bit and going, this isn't what bro comics do, but we enjoy this also.
Oh, well, for me, it was always this, dude. I never liked comedy that was like, here comes the punchline. You know what I mean? I always liked the little subtle joke that like 8 people would laugh at, and you'd be like, and you'd look at those 8 people like, you I love that you know why that's funny. You know what I mean? Like, because then like a lot of times when you do alt rooms, those are the jokes that crush, and when you do like clubs across the country, people don't get those because they're used to watching like Big Bang Theory or something like that, where like it's just hit over the head every punchline.
Yeah.
So that's why I love long stories, because you can like throw in these little tiny things where people allow their own sense of humor to dictate what they think is funny instead of like what the person on stage's sense of humor is. Like if you're open to the idea that like, oh, a joke could exist in a whisper, a joke can exist in a movement, and it's not like they're not trying to sell the punchline. You know what I mean?
I would argue that that's why we play the game.
Yeah.
And this is my analogy of that, it's a foie gras slider. Like what it is it is the nuance that makes us love really great comedy, but you set it up in an analogy that all the bros are going to get. But they don't get that they've just gotten a little bit of like a little bit of layered comedy, a little bit of like, I didn't hammer you over the head with it. I gave you some. Bill Burr does it beautifully. Like Bill Burr, one time, I forget the bit he did. One of my favorite Bill Burr bits, no questions asked, is when he talked about adopting.
Of course, dude. The dog?
No. I don't know that one, but
you don't know that one about when his wife like adopts the dog and he's out of town and she goes, I got the dog, and he goes, what are you talking about? And she goes, yeah, and she like pans the FaceTime camera, and it's like he goes, there's a pit bull in the corner. He's like shadow boxed and his front paws are taped up, and he's like, what? You got a pit bull? She goes, it's a mix, and he goes, mix with what? Another fucking pit bull? And he goes, and she goes, well, when you come home from the trip, the dog will be there. And he's like, the fuck he will. You're gonna be there, and we're gonna walk in the house. Me, then you. It goes, he needs to know the order of operation around the house. It's just fucking, it's unbelievable. Do you realize I had been doing comedy?
Why? That's how good a joke is when someone else can tell you a Bill Bert joke
and you're just losing it,
fucking dying.
He goes, what? He goes, I'm gonna adopt this dog.
Me, then you.
Yeah. And then he goes, I'm gonna fucking wake up in the middle of the night. He goes, I'm gonna come home late one night. It's gonna be like 2 a.m, and that's gonna be the exact time the previous owner used to beat him, and the dog's gonna be like, no, fuck this, man. I'm not taking this shit anymore. And I'm gonna come in. It's gonna latch on my fucking neck.
And he talks about a toaster or something. Is he talking about a toaster?
I don't know.
I remember. No, the bit I liked that he did, and I'm not good at repeating other people's bits. I always fuck them up. But the bit he did that I loved was, I'm going to adopt kids. I'm not going to have kids. I'm going to adopt kids. I'm going to get one that works in a sweatshop, and I'm going to get myself a boy soldier.
Oh my God.
You never heard this bit?
No.
Why I love it is that he does, it's what I want to do in this special that I'm not doing enough of, quite honestly. And I think one thing that I will say Sober October has given me is a little perspective of how lazy I am as a comic, in that I write a lot and I turn over material very quickly.
But you let it come to you instead of go get it.
Yeah, and I also don't need like massage the material. I don't get inside the bit and go, what's something new we can do in here? Bill, if you watch his specials, the progression he does, the things he does this, I guess what young comics would call as an act out. I don't call it an act.
I hate these terms that I'm like, what, did you take a class? Like,
no, they just watch Sebastian.
Yeah.
And they're like, They're like, there's a couple comics I really like that I liked when I first saw, and then they clearly saw Sebastian just destroying with like simplicity, like going like, I watched this guy sweeping a floor, and you just like, and you watch Sebastian do it, and you're dying laughing, but then you watch them do it, and you're like, they're like, my dad walked into the room, and they're like, kick a door and and you're like, hey, look, like the
Sebastian didn't always used to be so damn physical though.
I don't remember him when he wasn't.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe just because I saw him in like smaller spaces and stuff. But
what Bill does that I love is that he goes, he does an act out, I guess, where he talks to the son he has that worked in the factory, and he's like, hey, listen, it's time for bed. No, I understand. Like he has the conversation, and by the way, I'm gonna probably end up emulating this almost entirely now because I love it so much. But he has the conversation with his kid, and he goes, no, yeah, I understand. Yeah, you guys don't play by the same rules. I get it. Listen, he's got 12 confirmed kills. Like the guy, yeah, I know, he scares the fuck out of me too with the fucking eyebrows. And he talks about his boy soldier kid. Then he goes, oh, hey buddy, didn't see you in the bushes. But it's such a great act out of a bit where he talks to the kids, but you only hear his side of the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's so brilliant. It's a Patrice thing. Patrice used to make you tell the punchline in your head. Like he would say the thing that he wanted you to say in your head. And it was brilliant. I could sense when people were doing versions of Patrice. I didn't see that in Bill.
Yeah. I don't think that's like something you can learn though. I think like you get up there and you just connect with an audience and you try and like create a relationship that's like happening just, instinctually.
Yeah. Patrice was so good at making you say the punchline.
Yeah.
I don't do that in any of my jokes. I can't remember. He goes, do you ever hear the joke he did about Jorn Vandersloot?
I mean, I met Patrice one time, and I remember he was hosting.
Oh.
He was hosting, and he came up to me, and he was the nicest dude to me. I couldn't. That's why, I only met him one time, and it was at Stand Up New York, and I was in New York, and he was hosting. And came up to me, and I just moved there from LA, and he was super nice. He's like, "Hey, man," and said what's up, asked me for what my intro was, and I was like, oh man, this dude's the nicest guy of all time. And I was watching him murder and just doing whatever he wanted.
He had a joke about Jorn Vandersloot. He goes, the problem is they don't care about people of color. No one does. He goes, look at how, and he points to this black chick in the front row. He goes, how long do you think they're going to look for you, Diana Ross? He goes, how long? Really, like a day maybe. He goes, look at Jorn Vandersloot. He killed that one girl in Aruba. What's that? And everyone goes, Natalie Holloway. He goes, yeah, right. He killed her. And then he went out to Brazil and he killed that girl. What was the name of that girl? And he goes, exactly. And it was just so great that he'd take you to the water, have you drink the water, and then point out.
Yeah.
I bet someone texted me the other day. They're like, hey, I love that you quit drinking in October. How about doing a podcast where you don't obsess about comedy? And I go, that's all I fucking care about. This is my passion.
You do.
I love when your bit came across my computer screen probably 5-10 times. I watched it every time.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Well, that's the thing about that's the only thing where we get that bad rap against musicians where they can play the same album for 40 years and everyone still goes nuts.
You're talking about a guy that's told the same story for fucking 5 years.
Yeah.
I tell the story every show. I tell it every show because I have a feeling. I believe this. If I saw you doing stand-up at the store and I was walking by and I watched a bit and I was like, oh, cool, I like what he's working on. I probably wouldn't stick around to watch your set because I'm afraid it would influence what I'm working on.
Uh-huh.
But if I heard you say, start that bit, I wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
And I say that, I had this conversation with Rogan the other day because he's like, you need to stop telling the machine. I said, hold on. You're Joe Rogan. You've had 25 years of massive success in this business, and you are arguably one of the top 13 biggest comics in the world. I only say 13 because you got Chris Rock, Chappelle, Seinfeld. 13's a fair. Russell Peters.
Sure.
And I go, I'm not. I'm just now selling out all my shows. I'm just now to the place where I don't have to do press and stuff like that. And a lot of those people have found me through this one story. I want to show them an hour of original stuff that they haven't seen on my specials. But I also understand there's one thing that they found me on. And if they brought 10 people, which is usually the case, I'll get one guy that was a fan, and then he sends that story around, and he has a group of 12. If they came to hear that one story, I'm telling it.
Yeah.
I'm telling it. This year, I'm telling it. This year. Next year, when this next hour special is out, I'm done. And that's why I'm going to theaters, because I think I did this theater tour in Australia, and I was like, I liked that I could do an hour 10 of original material and then do an encore and tell the Machine story. And it was one show.
You're doing encores, dude. You know the first dude I ever saw do an encore?
No.
John Panette.
Really?
You remember John Panette?
Fuck yes.
Dude, first of all, let me just say this. So in my new special, I have a story at the end, 2 stories. I close on 2 stories back to back. One's 9 minutes, one's 10 minutes. And the 9 minute is about me buying a dildo for me and my wife, to try something new.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite joke. It's
Yeah.
murder fest. And it's fun. And it's again, it's another thing about marriage. Hey, how do you keep sex to be something that's new and exciting? So you try things that are way out of my element.
Yeah.
And and I love it. So that's for me is my new and it's way more adult than the Wrong Number story. It's this dildo story is something for me that I'm okay, I wanted to come up because for me, and I'm sure you're going through it too, is that Wrong Number story became the thing that people well, what can you do now? Are you going to come up with, are you going to, if you're a storyteller, are you going to have a story that's better than that Wrong Number story? Maybe not, but you want to give them hey,
you're going to try.
You like storytelling?
You're not going to not try.
Check this out. Here's another story that I put myself through for you people. You know what I mean? It's we go out and do these things for people so that we can come back, but dude, I got a chance to open for Panette, and they were I'm just I had never seen this stand-up. I just knew him from the last episode of Seinfeld because I was such a Seinfeld head.
Oh, yeah.
I was never a stand-up fan before stand-up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I was one of those
I was
guys.
that way, too.
I didn't know who Bill Hicks was. I didn't know who Burr was until I was 7 years into comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know any of these people. So I opened for Panette. I'm it's going to be all fat jokes, whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched him. First of all, it was at a theater, 1,700 people, sold out. I go, all right, I'm going to go up there. We're starting. And he goes, all right, let's go. And I go, oh, you're going to come up? He goes, yeah, well, who's going to introduce you? And I'm like, oh, you're going to introduce me? He goes, yeah. And I was like, Jesus, what a class act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He introduces me from the God mic, says to everyone, hey, everybody, it's John. And the place goes nuts.
Yeah.
And he's like, how's everyone doing tonight? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, before I come out, I'll be out in a little bit. I got a great friend who's here with me. Gave me the most genuine introduction of all time. And then I went out, had a great set, and then I sat backstage and watched him just annihilate.
Yeah.
And his perspective on fat was just different than anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He finishes, comes off, and I'm backstage, and I'm like, dude, that was insane. I go, you want me to say goodnight to everybody? He goes, nah, give him a second. I'm going to go back out. And I go, well, you're going back out? He goes, yeah. And then he went back out and did the hits. And I just was holy shit, I'd never seen that.
That's what I believe that's what a comedy show should be. I mean, in my opinion, if I watch Ron White, I really want to see tater salad.
Yeah.
I really I'm being real. I'll pay an extra $30 if he tells it.
Yeah.
I want to hear him tell the bit. I want to hear him, for me, what I do is I tell the Machine story a little different every time. Mm-hmm. I add things that I didn't add to the original story. There's obviously you're going to tell it for one more year after you've told it on your special. There are going to be new parts that kill even harder than you're oh, where was this fucking 4 years ago? But for the most part, I believe I'm writing an hour of material. I'm working on the next special. I think I'm gonna get rid of it and not tell it in this coming tours. Mm-hmm. Only because I need a closer. I need to find a closer.
Yeah.
I need to have a closer. Something that I'm solid with, and I go, thank you, good night, and I can get a standing ovation on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel perspective-wise, I just feel very blessed that anyone wants to hear anything that I'm doing.
Of course.
So that I go, okay, if you like that, then of course I'll do it. Why wouldn't I do it? That would be short-sighted of me not to do it. And I think that is, it's also, that's my perspective. The same way Bill and Louis said, hey, we're going to write a new hour every year. and everyone's like, "What are you fucking crazy?" And there are people that go, "Hey, you don't ever repeat a bit." And I go, "I don't know. You can do it that way. I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah, for
I'm gonna do it my way and go. I'm cool with my way." And but I also think that me and you have bits. And by the way, I don't. If you're a comic, you listen to this and you're getting offended by this, I apologize. But I believe we have bits that stamped us into this social media collective unconscious. Like, I believe that this is going to sound really, I don't know, maybe I'm misstaying this, but I believe that, like, I don't know. I shouldn't say anything, but I think that they're like, because it's just like, we're different than Dave Chappelle. Like, Dave Chappelle, everything he does is of that quality.
Yeah.
Like, everything he does, for everyone watching him, there is a preciousness to it. Every word he says, there's a preciousness to. With us, we were fucking jobbers. We were journeymen.
Yeah,
and then we got a bit that everyone found, and we go, yeah. I am that guy. I also can do all this other shit.
Yeah.
I want you to appreciate the other shit and like it, but I'm not going to force feed it to you. I'm not going to go, no. I got fucking, you don't know who the fuck you're talking to. I'm just as, look, I'm not as good as Chappelle. I'm Bert Kreischer. I can do what I do. And by the way, I want you to have a great time. I don't know. I'm overthinking this. All I know is that Chris Porter was like, he was like, I watched you do the Machine Story. He's like, I was like, I think you should get rid of it. But then I watched him go crazy when you said, when I was 22, I got involved with the Russian Mafia. The place goes fucking bananas when I say that. And he goes, and then I thought, why don't I do a couple of bits when they're dropping the checks? Why don't I do some greatest hits, some bits? So he went on stage and he's like, they're dropping the checks. Is there anything anyone would like to hear? And someone goes, Doritos. And he was like, huh? Or Taco Bell. And he was like, okay. And he didn't remember how it went. And he kind of muddled through it, and it fucking murdered.
That's dope.
But I don't know. I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, well, it's just like parenting, dude. You look at your kids. You parent one kid differently than you do the other one because they're different people. It's like comedians are the same way with their materials. One comic, the way he handles his stand-up is going to be different than how another one does.
Yeah, like Segura barely writes his, and the performance is low grade. So
it's and people really react to it, and you're like, what is this? But I've been just trying to do way more crowd work, dude. I crush at crowd work, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it's like I love doing it now because I've always loved it. But then, like, when you're putting specials out, you can't be like, on my special, I don't have any crowd work. When I did my half-hour special, there's like, I do like an interactive portion where like I ask looking for questions because then I use those to like work off of. And now I'm like, man, I just like Todd Barry did that whole crowd work hour.
Tour, yeah.
And I'm like, man, like, when Big J had his show, and I'm like, oh man, I love that. So it's like, you should always be evolving.
But that was, I think that's a very natural tendency for guys like me and you, because I think me and you are guys that can go up. I feel like I felt handicapped when I did my first special, so I was like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. That's how I do comedy. It's more interactive.
Well, that's what stand-up is supposed to be. It's supposed to be live. You're supposed to be in the room. It's supposed to be whatever's happening in that room is happening, and you have your jokes as a part of it,
Yeah, me monologuing for an hour, I didn't think was as good as me doing stand-up.
Monologuing.
Like just going, my name's Bert. I know what you're thinking. Ha, ha, ha. Funny about, Bert, or whatever.
Yeah.
And next one. I remember at one point going, I should break this up by saying something to somebody, but I didn't.
No, you can't.
No.
Oh, you can. I mean, it all depends on what it is.
Yeah, you can move that mic around as much as you need to.
I'm gonna move this right now.
But yeah. So where did you film your special?
The El Rey.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I wanted something like big and like, somewhat iconic. The El Rey, dude. I remember the first time I walked in there. Like those venues when you go see a live. Like I only saw music there, and every time I went in there, I was like, man, this place is just so awesome.
The Wiltern.
That
place blew me away,
dude.
It's called the Wiltern because it's on the corner of Wilcox and
Wiltern. No, it's on the corner of. Isn't that Wiltern?
Wait, no. I'm thinking of the wrong theater. What's the theater that's a little more towards Koreatown?
Yeah, that's the Wiltern.
But it's on the corner of
Wilshire and Wilcox.
Wilshire and Turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Turn. It's the two Western. Wilshire and Western.
That's right.
That's why they call it the Wiltern.
Why. Yeah, dude. I mean, being able to do a venue like that, that's what I mean. I wanted this special to be more about like who I was as an adult, whereas like everything in my past was like just fun and light, and this was more like, hey, I wanted to get into some stuff. Like I closed my special on a story about when my dad died 2.5 years ago. I'd only seen him once since I was 12, and that was when I was like 34. So when he passed, I was 39, and I'd only seen him that one time, and but I was in New York. I was doing Best Bars press. We were doing the Today Show, and my brother called me, and he never calls me, and he was like, "Hey," and no, I pick up the phone and I go, "Hey," and he goes, "Hey," and I go, "Who died?" Like, because my brother doesn't call me, and he goes, "Dad died," and he hadn't talked to him. Like, he had no relationship. I would at least email like twice a year if it like we connected and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the whole last 10 minutes of my special is about I went home from New York. I called my wife. I'm like, I'm gonna go home, and she's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I'm like, I think I'm gonna like. I reached out to my aunt who reached out to his wife, and I'm gonna go to his house and like she's gonna let me go through his stuff.
Really?
Yeah, which how weird is that, dude? I was like, just showed up like
Not knowing a dude and going through
hey,
his shit.
you cool if I just peep around, go through his crap? And she was like, yeah. So like the whole last 10 minutes of my special is a story about me going home and like going face to face with her, and like, you know, that'd be a story that like if I was doing it on Comedy Central, they'd be like, I don't think we should do this story, and I'm like, oh yeah, well when you pay for it yourself, you can do whatever you want. And I really wanted to like get across in this hour that like I'm a different person as an adult now, and something like this is like it was important for me to tell the story because I was like, there are so many people that like fatherhood and motherhood and, you know, having parents is like, we all have it and we all have a different story. So like my story of like my dad having no relationship with me for whatever reason, I've never gotten a reason for me to like have a need to go explore at least his home, you know what I mean, was so important. And I imagine there are so many people out there that have something that relates to it, and by me finding a way to make it funny is a way for other people to like, that might like, you know what, like my buddy right now, he just found out who his dad was, and he's like, I know, he's like, I don't know if I should reach out, we're about to have a kid, blah blah blah. And I was like, hey man, for whatever it's worth, like what harm is it to you? Like you might have a rough time dealing with it if you meet him.
Yeah.
Like he's like, well, what if he asks me for money? What if he's doing this? And I'm like, well, whatever, man. It's like, do it for you if you want to do it. So like that's kind of like everything went into me deciding what that special was going to be, from the lighting, from the room that I was in, because I knew the material I wanted to talk about on stage. And I wanted it to be a part of like, I wanted it to feel like old Hollywood, like that room is like red, like walls with big chandeliers. And I wanted that, like, it's in the middle of Hollywood, and I wanted to all feel like, adult or like older, or like, I never used to swear in my stand-up, and there's swearing. There's so much truth in that special, and I just wanted it to be like, I just feel like in life in general, I think that like we duck away from topics that are sensitive to people now, and we always have, but way more now than ever. Yeah. And at our job as comedians is we find light in these stories so that other people that are out there that are like don't know how to find the light, or are uncomfortable with it, or can't relate to someone, that we're able to do it. So
wait, what did you wear for your special?
I wore black boots, gray slacks, a blue sweater, and a white button down underneath.
Nice. Okay, I like it.
I didn't go suit. I didn't want it to be a suit because that's too formal.
Yeah. I
wanted it to be like classy, but yet, and I'm also fat, dude. And I was like, I'm so like tired of being fat. I'm like, I got to wear like a navy shirt. So, yeah,
So wait, what was the story with your dad?
I thought about wearing no shirt. I'm like, should I wear no shirt? Is anyone doing that?
Some guy said to me the other day, I was at the Ice House, and someone's like, dude, someone's doing your act. And I went, what? They're like, someone's doing your act. It's a fucking up there. Should we call him on it? And I went, yeah, if someone's doing my act, like, what bit? And they go, no, he's got his shirt off. I went, oh, I don't own that. Like, we all take our shirts off at some point.
People are doing that for years.
But what was the story with your dad?
What do you mean? Like,
you have a brother
and two sisters.
And two sisters. And your dad's the father of all them?
Yep. My parents were married.
Yeah.
And then when I was 2, they split. And then
you the youngest?
Yeah. And
no, I'm the oldest. He's just really busy.
But yeah, who knows, man? We still don't know. Like, I don't know why. Like, I've been meaning to ask my mom, like, did he even try to get custody? Was like that's something that like he went for? Like, I feel like there's also this weird depiction of like what a man is in like a family, like a father. Like it's always like it's a mommy and me class. It's like the mom gets maternity. No one thinks like, oh, the father needs to have time to connect with his children when they're brand new. Like none of that's like really considered. And I feel like especially back when I was young, when they got divorced, they were just like, oh, the woman will get the house and she gets the kids and blah blah blah. So I don't know if that was the case where it's like, I don't. So who knows,
Which sucks too, because and I don't hang out with you and your wife, but I do know that you have taken you are one of the few guys that took very quickly to fatherhood. That really enjoyed it. Yeah. I remember when you got pregnant, I think I was with you, or you like right after then, or you were about to, you texted me and you're like, dude, I'm so fucking pumped.
Oh yeah, well, like, what's crazy, dude, is I honestly felt like I never even could do stand-up till I had kids. I always used to be like, man, I just want to be a dad. I feel like I should have been a dad at like 18, because I'm just like I would give people like parenting advice when I was like 21, 22. Like I would do stand up, like trying to tell people how to live their lives. And I'm like, you have no life experience. What makes you think you know this? But like, dude, I wanted kids in 5th grade. I had names picked out for what I was going to name my kids.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like it was always I'm going to be a dad and I'm going to fucking crush it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to like give my kids an opportunity to be like, to see life the way that I wish that I had been given an opportunity. Because like my dad was an interesting dude and he had interesting parents. And like, I feel like my brother and I one time, I remember like, so my grandfather owned a bakery. He had 2 bakeries and they had this awesome house like up on the water. And like
mom's dad?
No, my dad's dad.
You knew that guy?
Yeah, we knew them. My mom like really kept a relationship with them because she wanted us to know them. You know what I mean?
So what would your grandfather say to you and stuff? Like, would he be like...
Back then, we would see my dad like once a month or once every 2 weeks or something like that. And I don't think he knew. And, he passed away when I was in 5th grade. So it wasn't like I stopped seeing my dad after his funeral. Like,
after your father, yeah.
Yeah, like when my grandmother passed, we didn't go to the funeral,
Yeah.
like because my dad called my mom and said, I don't want you there. So we were all like, well, fuck him. We're not going either.
Holy shit.
So like, but my grandfather, dude, he worked on the atom bomb. He worked at Los Alamos. He was at Harvard as studying physics, worked on the atom bomb, came back, was like, this is not the life for me. His grandfather was a baker. There's a lot of math in that, I guess.
What a transition.
Yeah, dude. Bombs to fucking cookies, bro.
Bombs to bunts.
Yeah.
Fucking, that's insane.
Yeah.
So then your dad...
So
in 5th grade, that's the last time you started really hanging out with your dad?
Yeah, that was the last time. I went to the antique store. He was an antique dealer. He ran the bakery. And then he was like, his passion was always antiques, and he just wanted to do antiques. And he ran the bakery in the ground. My grandfather like sold the bakery, and then he went into doing antiques full time, which isn't like, there's not like a ton of money in antiques, but like
but that is an interesting choice.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So when he died, I went through his house, and there's like books on silver coins. Like he was like astute at coins. Like that was his thing. It was like silver and like precious metals.
Really?
Yeah, but like he and my mom used to, like, when we were kids, when I was like super young and my brothers and sisters were young, my dad would go and clean out people's like attics and garages for free, because he would just take stuff, because he had the eye. He knew what was what,
Wow.
So he was always doing that on the side. So like my grandfather had this awesome house up on the water, and they had like a boat. And I remember one time I was like, this is like maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I was like home with my brother, and we were like in Boston, and I was like, God, you realize we should have had a boat, dude? And he's like, I know, man. Like, we should have been like spending our summers up there and like working, like having like lobster traps like my dad did when he was a kid and shit like that. So like,
did your dad come from money?
No, like my grandfather like made himself, like they didn't have money. So like my dad, when he was a kid, had his own lobster traps and would then get lobsters and then sell them to restaurants in town, like, making his own money.
Do you see the connection? Like, I see it very thinly veiled, but the connection of the man your grandfather and your father was, and how it kind of slides into like your little eccentricities.
Dude, beyond. That's like one of the things that like always upset me, was I was like, I could have been so much more had you taken the time to share with me. Like with my kids now, I am like, even at 3, I'm like, explain every little detail of what I know, what I've gathered. Because I'm like, that's what like parents are supposed to do. And I mean, I haven't even cracked my mom's dad. He was a fucking dope dude too. But like, yeah, man, so when I connected with him at 25, that was the first time since 12. That's when I started like emailing with him, and like he would write me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like this guy. I talk like him. I think like him. Like, and I didn't even know that. And then then we didn't talk for 4 years, and I reconnected again. And it was always this thing. It was always on me. It wasn't like he wasn't reaching out to me. I was always the one reaching out, you know?
Did he start another family?
He married this chick who I saw when I went home through and like just they never had, she had a son before. They never had any kids.
Was she hot?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really.
What was that? Did you ever as a kid blame, like, do you ever get in a fight with your mom and go, that's why you left?
No, but my mom was a super artistic woman. Like when we were kids, we went to the ballet, symphony. This is the thing. My mom worked at a ballet.
Okay.
So we never had cable. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have cable. TV was not a big thing in our home. We would go to the ballet because my mom worked there. Mm-hmm. My brother was an artist. We'd always be at the museum. We would go see the symphony because my mom still plays in organ and was like a musician in college and stuff. We would, all we did was do artistic stuff. But at the end of the day, my mom was like hardcore. Like I remember I was just the other day, we were at this wedding and I was talking to the woman who was hosting the wedding because my friends had it at this house, and we were like, she was talking about like a yak spit in her face one time. She's like, have you ever been spit in the face? And I go, yeah, my mom spit in my face once. And she goes, yeah, right. And started laughing. I go, no, I swear to God. She goes, what happened? I go, I was 17, we were fighting, and I was getting in the shower, and she ripped the curtain open and yelling at me, and then I was like, get the fuck, like pulling it back, and then she just spit in my face and walked out, and she goes, what'd you do? And I go, I fell to the tub and cried my ass off. My mom spit in my face.
Do you talk about that on stage?
No, not yet.
Jay.
I know, I'll get it.
I mean, my mom spit in my face.
Because I don't think of it as any. I'm just like, oh yeah, just that's something that happened. Like when something happens to you, that's normal. Yeah. You just like, oh, what? You never been spit in the face?
There's a girl, Taylor Tomlinson, that I work with. You know, mm-hmm. Taylor. She's got one of my favorite jokes. Is she goes, you ever? I'm gonna fuck her joke up. I shouldn't even try to do it, but she goes, you ever talk to someone and you share stories of your childhood, and then you realize they're like. Someone's like, oh, I remember going to bed without dinner. It's like, we wore muzzles. Like, just those, that is a fucking, like, I've never been spit in the face. That's a really interesting.
You don't, I mean, in my special, I talk about my mom one time, like, going to town on my ass with a metal spatula. And I talk about, I go, my whole life I thought I got beat. And then I go, now that I have 2 kids, I think back and I'm like, she needed that. You know what I mean? Just to be a better parent. She had to like let off one day. So like, I talk about that, but I didn't even realize getting spit in the face was so dramatic until this woman said this about the animal spit in her face.
Yeah.
And she basically said it like changed her entire life. She sold her home. She moved. She was like, it was like a sign to her. It was so demoralizing to her. And I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like, oh yeah. And then when I told her that, she was just like, she was blown away that happened. And if you met my mom, you'd be like, no way this woman spit in your face. But that's like when you're a single parent of 4, you have to be the mom and the dad. You know what I mean? Yeah. She had to drop the hammer when she had to. And my mom was kind of forced into a life that like wasn't what she would have done. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like I think if my mom could have gone back, she wouldn't have married my dad. She would have gone to New York and tried to be a costume, a clothing designer or an interior designer or something like that, because that was like her real passion. Like we would go to like designer show houses when we were kids, and like I was always at fabric stores and like doing all these things with my mom, which is why like when you ask me what to do out in that backyard, I'm like, oh dude, I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
I got it on my phone.
Yeah, it's right here.
It's so funny. I don't my fear of replicating my father's past, meaning like the similarities.
I want to talk about your dad.
Okay.
But go ahead. You say what you want to say. But I have something like, I want to tell you a story about my mom, and then I want to bring up a story about your dad that I remember and see how drastically contrasted our parents are.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. So I was in a movie a couple years ago called The Invitation. It was a thriller, and it did really well, and it was out everywhere. Not in major theaters, but like it was, I think we had like 46 cities or something like that. So it was in Boston. My mom went to it. She not only went to it, she brought flowers for herself that she bought, and then was like going through the lobby being like, my son is in the movie, like telling people.
Yeah.
Whereas your dad, that time I worked with you in Miami, he lived in Florida, so he came, and I remember being at the club, and you're walking. It's before showtime, which is like the fucking coolest time.
Yeah.
Is when you're in that showroom and everyone's setting up, and you're like, "There's a fucking show tonight."
Yeah.
And people coming, and like you're walking around with your dad, and I'm like, "Dude, this is fucking awesome." Bert's dad's here, and for me, who had no relationship with my dad, I'm like, "This is the coolest shit." You guys had just gone to dinner, and then I'm like. I remember getting in the green room. I'm like, where's your dad at? And he's like, you're like, oh, he left. And I go, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, he's like, he's going to sit at the bar or go somewhere else. I'm like, he's not going to watch the show? And you're like, nah, he's never seen me perform and will not watch me perform. And I remember just being like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Is it still?
Still never seen me perform.
What?
Never seen me perform.
Why?
It makes him uncomfortable. Makes him really
Like, is he
uncomfortable.
afraid?
No, it just makes him uncomfortable. Like, I imagine it would be like probably seeing your kids naked, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Like, I like if my daughter, privacy is a big thing in our house right now. My daughter's going through puberty.
Yeah.
So,
And you're you.
And yeah, and so I imagine it would be that's the similar. My mom loves it. My mom will, like, when I'm at the Tampa Improv, my parents will come down to pick me up because I usually stay. I stay with them, and my mom will come in and pop into the showroom and laugh hard as shit. My dad will sit out at the bar in like in clothes. It looks like he just got out of bed, like a fucking a Nike sweat wick shirt and shorts and penny loafers, and just sit at the bar and have a drink, and he just will not come in. It makes him really uncomfortable. Yeah, I don't know why. It doesn't bother me though, because I don't really know anything different.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I remember when I first started doing stand up, I had to do a sizzle, a 7-minute audition tape for Will Smith. They had seen me perform. They wanted Will to see me perform. Yeah. Will didn't want to come down to the club. They were like, just make a 7-minute tape. So I went to Caroline's, made a 7-minute tape, and it was probably one of the better tapes I've ever made of stand up ever in my life.
By the way, yeah, no one here cares, but trying to get a good tape is like nightmare. Go ahead.
It is catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
You need the right time. You need to be the right time to go up. You need to have the right audience. It's got to be recorded good. It's really difficult. And
I just had to do it like 2 weeks ago. Like, we had a tape for late night to promote this special.
Yeah.
And I crushed at the Improv. I'm like, can you guys send me that? They're like, yep. They send it to me. No sound. They hadn't recorded sound.
Oh, that's great.
So I went again, had a great set. I'm like, can you guys send that to me? They go, yep. I don't get it. I email, I call. They're like, camera broke that day. So then I got one. It was done. Sent it. Tonight Show was like, they had it for like 6 days, and then they went to watch, and they're like, oh, it's not there. I hit the Improv. They're like, oh, we deleted it. We deleted it after a certain amount of time because we need the space. And I'm like, oh, really? Because that wasn't a big deal for me at all. Then I had to go. I brought a camera. It cut out after 5 minutes because there was a glitch in my camera. Like, all these things just to get this. And my publicist is like, hey, what's going on with this tape? And I'm like, fucking, do you have any idea how hard it is to get a good tape? You have to crush. The sound has to be right. No one can be walking in front. It's just like, it's near impossible.
It's a big learning curve for a comic to make his own tape is a tremendous learning curve because it's just trial and error. I got to a place where I'm really good at making tapes now. I can make tapes really great because I have all the equipment. I use that camera with a wide-angle lens. I set it on manual focus so that it's focused on me, so that if anyone walks in front of it, it doesn't refocus. That always throws you out of it. I use separate audio. I have an audio boom mic, shotgun mic on this H6 that I put on top. I wire that into the camera. I then wire that into the board so I get audience sounds. I can really do a good tape now. I did it for my last special. I recorded every show, and I just got obsessive about it. And I was like, I'm going to really take it high end. But back in the day, you could make a tape at like this, we're talking 1998, 99. You could make a tape in maybe 2 clubs in all of New York. Yeah. I remember Ben Bailey asked me to record a set. He was like, hey man, I'm submitting for something. Will you record it? And I went, yeah, sure. So he gave me the camera, and I recorded it handheld, and so it shook the whole time. I'm like,
and you're probably laughing,
and my arms getting tired. I'm laughing, but yeah, it's tough to make a good tape. That tape I made, I gave to Will. Will immediately gave me a deal, and I was like, okay, it must be. I didn't even watch it. I was like, it must be good. I'm going to send it to my family. My sisters watched it with my dad and my mom in the living room, and they're like, Dad got aggressively drunk to watch it. Like, he could not sit in front of it. And they go, he watched the first joke. The first joke was about the real world, and he had never seen the real world. So he was like, he's not funny. And my sisters were like, Dad, the real world is a TV show. The joke was, every time I watch the real world, it's the same thing. 5 white people, 1 black person. 5 black person. I was like, one time I'd like to see the opposite. 5 black guys and 1 white chick. Yo, I don't know. Yo, what's up, Stephanie? My name's Ray Ray. This is literally, it's all cultural appropriation now. I look back, and then they're like, welcome to the real world. We turn your room into a studio, whatever. My dad's like, I don't get it. Why is he doing black accents? Why is he doing a black guy's voice? Oh my God. And then the next joke is about me and Dimitri Martin on a train, and he laughed at that one. And then he was like, oh, okay, I guess he's funny. I'm fine. But my dad still won't. And now I'm like, I don't want to jinx it. Don't fucking come. My career's going fine.
Now
Stay
you're
away.
like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
But yeah, he's a really, I guess the thing I was going to say is that, by the way, I never really found my dad funny, and lately everything he's saying is making me laugh so hard that I'm putting him in my act. He did something yesterday that it was maybe one of the funniest things it won't work on stage, but to me and you, I think you'd get a kick out of it. He flew from Tampa. My sister's having a baby tonight, and so he flew from Tampa yesterday morning to come out for the birth. He texts me at like 3 a.m, and he goes, Joey Diaz is on my plane. And so
oh my God.
I don't get it. It's 3 a.m. here. But his next text is, I think he's eating pot cookies. He just yelled back, Mr. K, you want one of my cookies? And I was like, please say Dad didn't eat a cookie. So he lands. They're both sitting in first class. He lands. My dad comes down the escalator in Terminal 2 for Delta, off to the side, and he comes up and he's like, Joey Diaz is on my flight. And I said, yeah. He calls him Joey D. Joey D was on my flight. I said, yeah? And he goes, yeah. I said, did you sit next to him? He goes, no. My dad's like, I sat next to a fucking moron. I said, really? He goes, Bert. He goes, I mean, I'm assuming the guy has money if he's flying first class, because I know how expensive this ticket is. This fucking guy played Candy Crush the whole flight. He goes, he's a grown man, and he played Candy Crush. He played a fucking game. I go, well, for a lot of people, no, Bert, no. He played a game, a child's game. He's a grown man, good shape, physical. God. Just played a game from takeoff to landing. He got up to go to the bathroom and brought the game with him and was still playing the game when he sat back in his seat. The whole fucking flight. He must have looked at me going, oh, guy's reading books. What an idiot is this guy? Just fucking played a game. Can you believe that? And I go, that's crazy, Dad. He was so upset by it that a man would play a game.
Yeah.
Joey Diaz comes out down the escalator, and I go, what's up, Joey? How's the flight? He goes, dog, your dad sat next to John Cena.
Shut up, dude.
My dad goes, who's that? And he goes, he's a pro wrestler, Mr. K. My dad goes, he's a fucking moron. He's a fucking moron.
Dude, you got to get like John Cena to like send a video message to him. Like, you got a problem, son?
Dude, I was laughing so hard. And I go, you know who he is, right? And my dad goes, no, my dad doesn't know anything about pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
I go, he was in Trainwreck with Amy Schumer.
Yeah, he's in tons of stuff.
Yeah. And I go, he's one of the biggest pro wrestlers ever. I go, he had big arms. My dad goes, oh, his arms, his calves, he's got a bad back. He put a pillow behind his back. There's something wrong with his back. I thought it was because he was playing the goddamn game the whole time. Like, what grown-up plays a game? He was so upset.
Yeah.
That I
generation.
But Joey Diaz coming down going, dog, your dad sat next to John Cena.
That is so funny.
Joey, and then my dad loves Joey Diaz.
It's hard to not love Joey Diaz.
There are people who don't.
Dude, he is fucking hilarious.
I'm always blown away when someone goes after Joey Diaz. Like the John Caparulo stuff, where him and Joey went at it. And then John was like, let's flamethrow this. I'll go after Rogan too. And I was like, in my head, I was like, my thing is like, why? Like, I think about that. I have beef with a guy that I've shared too much on this podcast, that I don't really have beef with him anymore. But but I know that we would never speak to each other. Like he would never talk to me, and adversely, I'm just wouldn't talk to him because I don't want to get into a confrontation. I don't like confrontation. And he emailed me the other day, and emailed my manager and said, "Can you please get me Bert's info? He'll know what it's about." And I immediately was like, "Oh, cool. He wants to like bury the hatchet."
Yeah.
And then I consulted a couple people, and they're like, "No, I don't think he wants to bury the hatchet. I think he wants to finish telling you off." And I was like, "What?
Is he a comedian?
Yeah."
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, everyone knows that me and him have beef, but I was like, in my head, I'm like excited for his email because I'm like, I would like to get past this. I would love to have him on my podcast. I'd love to talk about the.
Well, why don't you just have him on and hash it out over on the podcast?
I don't think he cares to. I don't. I mean,
Well, he's
I
reaching
don't
out
know.
to your manager.
No, but he
obviously
reached out.
cares.
I personally felt like he wanted to. What time do you have to be out of here?
I'm good.
I personally felt like he wants to. I feel like I know that we're both grown-ups, and we're both in very different places in our career than we were that one time we had a hiccup.
Yeah.
My frustration with that moment is less about being asked to not do the show and more about the fact that I respected him as a comic, and I felt like we were becoming friends, and then I realized that was not the case.
Gotcha.
That ultimately, and I have to admit this now as a 44-year-old man, I know from what I hear, he's not boozing real hard anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know. And so I personally think he reached out to me to be like, "Hey man, we're both grown-ups. I have no problem with you. I quite honestly, Bert, I haven't even thought about you in 10 years. The fact that you're still upset about this, I was assuming he was going to be like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that for whatever feelings I gave you. And then I'd say, I'm sorry for holding on to this. I think I just held on to it because.
But that wasn't the case.
I don't know. I haven't gotten the email back.
Oh, gotcha.
I haven't gotten the email back, and now that I've said it on this, I'm sure he just won't email me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reached out. I talked to a couple people, and they're like, "No, I don't think he's." And Leanne was the first one. Leanne read the email, and she's like, "I don't think he's ready to bury the hatchet." I go, "Yeah, he is." I was like, "We're both grown-ups. Like, what are we holding on to?"
Yeah.
And by the way, he has a career that's 10 times bigger than mine. There's no way that he, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he
sure.
won.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but my point is, I would never create tension. Like when John Caparulo did that, I was like, there's things I don't like about people, but I don't share it.
No fucking way. And this is too small a business. We're all comedians. Don't you think there's some kind of like thing? Just I have no idea. Everyone's got their livelihood. I don't get into any of that shit. I don't care. You know
At
what I mean?
all.
I don't care.
At all. Like I do the opposite. There are people that are so talented that I naturally, and by the way, this is going to surprise a lot of people, but I naturally have a defensive feeling when I see them on stage of like it's a protective feeling of like you almost am I making any sense? Like they're so good, you go like, fuck, I don't want to go after them. And
I don't go after anyone, but I just have got to the point where I'm like, there's so little time.
I meant like follow them. Like I don't want to follow them. I don't want to like a perfect example. A friend of both, a mutual friend, Rory Scovel, made me laugh so hard the first time I ever heard of him that I was frustrated that I had never heard of him. But in hearing him the very first time, he made me laugh like that.
Yeah.
Like I was like, hold the fucking who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like he was on Todd Glass's podcast. I was on a train going to Amsterdam, and I was doubled over laughing. And I was like, oh my God. Then I followed him on Instagram. And I was like, oh my God, he does stuff I like to do a lot. How have I never met this guy? What happens in this business, I think a lot of people then revert that energy and go, fuck that guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
And I am the opposite of that, where I go very easily there's a lot of people that very easily could look at Rory Scovel and go, fuck. Like, fuck. Like his set he did for, was it Conan in the theater?
In the Apollo.
In the Apollo? Come
unbelievable.
on.
It's unbelievable.
The thing he did with John Doerr?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Unbelievable.
The fact I watched him do a set and he did the whole thing as a Christian youth minister and destroyed as a Christian youth minister.
Yeah. Yeah, he's super talented, man. Rory's one of my best friends. I love him to death. You know what I mean? He's super talented. But I never look at guys and say I don't want to go after him. I just like, oh, go take that energy and go a different way with it.
Oh, there's guys I have a hard time following.
We all have, yeah, you know.
There's anyone who defines a room like that. Like I'll follow anyone that's because I'm not the kind of guy that jockeys to
No
get my
way.
spot on a
Yeah.
set. If you tell me I'm going fifth, I go fifth. I'm not gonna fucking
Yeah.
If I have a problem with going fifth, I'll call you before I even show up to the show and I know the lineup. And I go, hey, my daughter has a whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
You mind if can I go earlier? No, I don't want to know the lineup. But there are definitely guys. There's one guy. I wish I could remember his name. It's 3 names. He's a alt comic, very very funny. He does a bit about shining his robot.
I don't know.
But man, that's the one guy I followed on stage. A couple guys, him entirely, where I realized he changed the room entirely.
Yeah.
And I was like when I got up, my only instinct was to talk about how good he was.
Yeah.
Like Ralphie, I remember Ralphie came up. That was the first encore I ever saw.
I would never want to follow Ralph.
I followed Ralphie 3 times.
I mean, let's be honest.
And it was every time was fucking soul sucking.
Yeah.
I followed Ralphie on a cruise ship on Cowhead's cruise, and Ralphie's like, "Oh, I ain't going after you, Bert Kreischer. I ain't been doing shit lately. I'm fucking rusty." And I was like, I was believing in myself. I had been following Billy Gardell for a year, and then been following Jay Moore for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because Jay used to do a thing where Tom would open, he'd do an hour, and then I had to close.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got this. I was like, don't worry, man. I'll follow you. Ralphie put a hurt on me that I have not experienced since.
Yeah.
He did.
That dude's beast mode.
He had this ability of rattling off punchline after punchline after punchline after punchline to the point where you would sit there and go, I wouldn't have written one of those.
Yeah.
I think that he was...
Yeah, dude.
And the last time I saw him, he murdered in a way. The very last time I saw him do stand up, he murdered in a way that I said to myself, man, I've been sleeping on how funny he is. I should be watching more of Ralphie. Like, he fucking killed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah. You gonna go to his thing?
I don't know. I mean, when I don't know of it.
I think it's open to all the comics, but
I'm sure. Yeah.
I was talking to some people. I was like, I don't like those memorials.
Yeah. To be honest with you, like I like honor people in my own way. And if I was like someone I was like super close with, I would probably be at the real memorial.
Yeah.
So when it comes to something like that, like I'll always honor people. Like I had like an intimate moment with Ralphie, so that'll always be something I'll hold and like connect on. And like I always loved Ralphie, so for me I'm cool.
Yeah, I said I do. Do you have a living trust yet or a trust yet?
No.
You set that up.
Yeah, I got to.
Yeah, because when Ralphie passed, I was just wide awake to what happens after you die.
Yeah.
With your money and your estate. And I was like, I want my shit in order. And so the day after he passed, I went into an estate living trust planner. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I did that I'm very proud of, which I'm fucking bummed that funerals are no longer a thing that people do.
What do you mean?
Funerals, man, I've had a bunch of friends die, and they don't do funerals anymore.
Really?
Yeah, funerals but my friends have all died from pretty fucked up things.
Yeah.
But funerals aren't something big anymore. Like Ralphie's not having a funeral.
Yeah.
My buddy passed away. He didn't have a funeral. They go, want to do a celebration of life. We'll plan it out. Because the family's so hurting. They're like, let's deal with it in a couple months.
I fucking love funerals, dude.
Dude, I love funerals too.
I love them.
And Leanne's like, I don't want to have a funeral for you. Like, I don't want the girls to have to go through that. And I went, the fuck? You're out of your fucking mind. I go, we're having a funeral. And the lady goes, we can put that as a caveat in your trust. I go, I want a fucking funeral. Leanne's like, I don't want a funeral. I go, don't have one. I don't give a fuck. The money. I go, but you're spending money on a funeral for me. And I want a party. I want a party. And the lady's like, we can plan this all out. And I go, all right. I go, I want a fucking party. And I want all my friends there. And I know who I want to speak. I know how I want this to go down. I go,
I'm setting the lineup. Okay, here's the deal.
Yeah.
I want a tight 5 up front.
Yeah. I go, listen, with my list of friends, we could charge a cover charge, do it at the fucking Wiltern, and I could set my kids up for a while. That's a big fucking paycheck to put in a bank.
Yeah.
Like, and in my head, I'm like, I know I'm going to have fucking murderers up there. Like, what do you think Segura could draw if he was with Rogan, Burr? Like, that's a fucking ticket right there. I'm sure I'd get Marin up there, right?
Yeah.
Like, just to say something nice. And I was like, I'm like definitely doing a funeral / celebration of life, like a couple days after I die. I want it fresh in everyone's thing. And I want my daughters to see that that people loved me. Like, that's the other thing. I don't want them to just, dad died, let's all hole up in our rooms. I want them to...
That's the best thing. I mean, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can make it whatever it is when people are there. Like, if people are calling it a celebration, it was always a celebration of life. I remember back in the day, I remember being a kid and, like, seeing a funeral go by and my mother grabbing me and, like, you stand here and you wait till this entire funeral procession goes by. And we just sat there on like Main Street in my town in Stoneham, Mass, and we watched the entire funeral go by with all their lights on. She goes, that's what you do when a funeral goes by. You stand and you let that entire funeral pass and you don't move till it passes. And I was like, that's the coolest fucking thing ever. Dude. And I remember her telling me like when her dad died, my grandfather, like the line was so long. Dude, you ready for this? One time I'm in upstate New York and I'm like in like the back roads, like out by my wife, and I'm like waiting to make this like right. And I see these cars all pass me with their lights on. I'm like, what's up with these people? And then there's like a big gap. And I'm like, all right, boom. I swing into this thing. And then they all catch up. And I'm in the middle of a funeral procession. And I'm just like, no flag. There were no flags on the other cars.
just like,
sitting there like, oh, man.
Can I pass?
And I wrote it into a script where a guy's like driving and this guy cuts off and gets in. I'm like, what the fuck's this guy doing? He doesn't see the flags? What is he doing? And all of a sudden the guy just like trying to cut off a funeral.
I had the same thing happen to me at the Gay Pride Parade in New York when I was young.
Were you driving?
I walked out of New York Sports Club, I guess is what it's the place we work out in New York. I forget what it was called.
Uh-huh.
It was on the corner of 7th and like right by Stonewall. And so I walk out, and if the streets are not packed, but they're pretty heavy, and I see, and it's a Saturday, and it's just beautiful. It really was beautiful. And I was like, and my shirt was sweaty, and I saw some guys with their shirts off. I was like, dude, I'm taking my fucking shirt off. Throw my shirt off, throw it in my back pocket. I got my bag on, I start walking around, and someone's selling margaritas on the street. I go, I want a fucking margarita. I buy a margarita. I go, this is a fucking Saturday. And then I'm walking down 7th, and I'm like, how do I get left? How do I get left? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the Gay Pride Parade.
In the Gay Pride Parade.
And then I was like, oh my God, this is a bit. You know how like I'm a young comic?
Yeah.
This is a bit. And so then I did everything in life that would have been unnatural after that.
Yeah, of course.
Because I didn't know how to live an authentic life. But I got home and told my buddy Ty, I was like, I was just in the Gay Pride Parade. And we were so fresh out of Florida. He was like, dude, don't tell anyone about that. But yeah, funerals are, who would you want? Like, let's do a top 3 comics to speak at your funeral.
Whether they know me or not.
Okay.
I mean, put it this way.
No.
I'm a comedian, but comedy is by no means my world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which it's just like, that's just the way I've always been. I don't know why. Because I have other interests, like, and I wasn't a comedy fan growing up. Like, I loved being funny, but I don't know. So, like, for me, like, it would just be like the people that are closest. So it'd probably be Thune, Sickler, and Scoville. That would be like the 3.
Thune, Sickler. By the way, I was texting back and forth with Nick Thune, one of my favorite people to text with.
Yeah, I mean, Thune is...
Sickler, and Scoville. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to take Tom back. I don't know if I want him speaking at my funeral.
That's sweet, man.
Because he's gonna make a joke about me. Like, I know Tom would be like, Bert was a great... I'll be like, Tom, it's my fucking funeral.
I'd want people to shred the fuck out of me. Oh, but I'd be rather like, this would be a... Otherwise, I would have like, I don't know. I don't think I really have friends in the world. You know what I mean?
I would like... What do you mean?
I just think friendship's like this really watered down thing nowadays. I just don't understand it really. I don't know if it's because I have a tough time like connecting with people anymore or what, but...
I just talked to Joe about this on the pod. I think I talked about it on the podcast, which maybe I shouldn't have. 4 years ago, I think it was about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. It was right. Maybe it was more than that. It might have been closer to 6. We were at the Ice House, and I was unaware of this, but I had a bunch of people that were trying to become friends with me, and I wouldn't let them in.
Yeah,
I didn't want to. I was like, I'm done with friends. Like, I don't need friends anymore. Friends just complicate this business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want friends. And Joe pulled me aside. Had a shot of 2 shots of Jack Daniels. We were pretty high, and I was getting ready to go on stage. I'm in my headspace to go on stage, and he's like, hey man, let's do a shot. I was like, cool. And he's like, we got the shots, and he goes, hey, you're a great guy. I was like, thanks. He goes, there's a lot of people trying to be your friend right now. I said, okay. He's like, just let us be your friend. Just let us be your friend. We like you. And I was like, all right. It was really an awkward thing to say. And I was like, okay. He goes, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, allow us to be your friend and you'll have a lot of really great friends. I was like, all right. And we did a shot. He's like, I love you, man. And I was like, I love you too. And I got on stage and I got off and Ari was waiting outside and I started talking to Ari. And then Ari and I drove back to the city. Back in the city was when he was living up by the store. And we sat in what I guess I can't imagine we were in my car, although I remember we were in my car. But we sat in a car and talked. I only say that because I never drink and drive, and I know I was hammered.
Yeah.
But maybe this is the next night, maybe. But like we sat outside his house and we talked for like 30 minutes. I haven't done that with anybody. I hadn't done that in a while.
Yeah.
And it felt really good. And then he left. He was like, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, I don't make commitments like that. And Segura and I had, and I'm sure Tom's recollection is probably different, but we had a very weird relationship and almost like strained to an extent because it was always through another person.
Yeah.
And
I know that deal.
And that was our conversations were cyclical in that sense. And after that, I was like, I think I need to be friends with Tom, like as opposed to be someone I talk to about things.
Yeah.
And we'd always been friends before that, but I think things had just complicated things. So I allowed Joe, Joey, Tom, Ari, Duncan, Red Band. I allowed them to be like, I'd reply to them and I'd text them back. And I remember Joe called shortly after that and we talked on the phone and then he invited me to go to his house for a birthday party. And I was like, which is not my comfort zone. And I did. And we just hung out and just talked like friends. And I was like, oh, and I thanked him the other day. I think we were at his new studio and I was like, hey, thanks for that, man. Like, I don't think I'd have any friends. And I have a really great group of friends. Like Joey Diaz, I talk to Joey once a day practically.
Yeah.
You know? And Tom and like, so I know what you're saying. And in this business, I remember saying, what were you going to say?
No, I'm not saying I'm not open to it. I'm just saying like it's weird, you know, it's just weird to me. And I'm just like, because I used to be I am still social. If I'm in any group,
you're very social.
I'm social. I love people. I can talk to everybody. I can, you know, make people feel comfortable. But it's just, I feel like in my last, like, I lose sight of like what friendship is anymore because like, we have kids, my wife travels, I travel, trying to get people connected. I have friends that are like best friends that are like, hey man, I'm not coming to your daughter's birthday, you're too far away. And I'm just like, all right, like, and like that's just something you can do now. You can just tell people over text, like, no, or people like sending me text messages, like breaking commitments. And I'm like, you don't do that. You know what I mean? So I'm just like,
no, I don't
even know.
I
still have friendships from high school and college, you know, but it's like, then you're like, oh, well, what are friendships where you see people once every 4 years, you know, like what, you know what I mean? So I'm still like I'm open to new friendships. And then in this town, I know friends that are like, only make friends because it betters their business. And then you're just like,
by the way, that's the majority of people out here.
I know it's a crazy, you know, so I'm just like, you know, I'm kind of just trying to let my life be what my life becomes instead of like.
You're also, the weird thing about having kids is there is like a period, like we go through friends every 4 years. Once you have kids, you have your preschool friends.
I know.
And then you end up going to a kindergarten.
Yep.
Or whatever. Then you have your kindergarten through like grade 5 friends, and then you have your 6th grade through 8th grade friend. Like you end up cycling out of friends. Like our best friends, we were just talking about this on the walk, me and Leanne. Our best friends when we just got pregnant, had babies, like where you're at in your life right now, all our best friends are either divorced or we don't speak to them anymore.
Damn.
Our best friends. I mean, I'm talking like people we went camping with, we spent every weekend with. What are you guys doing this weekend? All birthday parties.
Yeah.
We don't speak to any of them. Not one of them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was like, and so many of them are divorced now. I said to Leanne, I was like, who ever thought we would be the ones that stayed together?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fucking raging drunk. You're fucking, I'm on the road constantly.
Yeah.
We got pregnant before we were married. Like, we got pregnant and then
Yeah.
got married. Everyone was like, that'll never last.
Yeah.
And now all of them are divorced or fucking in shambles. And then the ones that me and Leanne are going on a walk together for fucking an hour today.
Yeah.
Just bullshitting. And I was like, who ever saw this happening?
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
It is. Friends are. It is a thing that I think it's easier when you're older too. Like, I think in like 7 years, in 5 years, you'll go like. I maybe, I don't know.
It's also weird for me. Like I said, I still talk to on a regular basis 3 friends from high school,
Yeah.
and talk to on a semi-regular basis 10. You know what I mean? So it's like I came from this thing where like I'm pretty loyal dude. So like once I build a bond with someone over something, I usually like maintain it. So it's hard for me to like let go of it. Where I've like had to like break up with people through words that are guy friends instead of like most people just like let it disappear, and that's just uncomfortable to me, you know. And my therapist is like, yeah, you just turn into you just get new friends, you know, like maybe
Yeah.
you need new friends. And I was like, I go, what do you mean? You just like get new friends? Like, and she's like, yeah, like maybe, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right. So it's, you know, I just think it's an interesting, you know, study of people is like understanding like where you are in the world.
Leanne's torn through friends. My wife. We have lost so many friends from Leanne because she just doesn't fuck with crazy.
Yeah.
So the second she senses crazy,
She's out.
she destroys it.
Yeah.
I watch her destroy it, and I'm like, yo, I fucking like the husband. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, he introduced me to comic books. I never liked comic books until him. Like, I never got like the Marvel universe, and then he explained it, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thanks a lot. Oh, wait, we're not friends anymore because Leanne sent an email about your wife and didn't realize she was CC'd on it. Oh, fuck.
Oh, man.
So many people
Yeah.
that I was like, I don't know.
I kind of love that.
But it is weird. Like, I definitely forego the store sometimes to spend time with my family. Like, if I have 3 days home, it's hard to get me to go to the store.
Oh, dude. I mean, yeah, we have this thing because my wife will travel, and like if she's out of town, that means I got to get a sitter for when she's out of town. So normally I get her schedule, and I'm like, all right, these are the nights I can do stand up. Like this week, I leave Thursday for Atlanta, then Boston, then New York. And
Is it doing every new city every night?
no, I'm doing a college. I'm going to Atlanta for my friend's bachelor party and see my buddy that I was friends with out here.
Yeah.
And then Boston for a gig for college on Saturday night. Then Sunday, Monday doing press in New York. I'm gonna go do Bonfire.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm gonna do UCB. I'm gonna do Comedy Juice. I'm gonna do The Stand, and I'm gonna do Artie Lang's show and a couple other.
Artie Lang just turned 50.
Wow. Good for him.
He was one of the he has been a motive, and I hope this doesn't come off as a backhanded compliment, but he's been a motivation this whole month for me because he said something to Jim and Sam on a podcast or a radio show he did where he was talking about partying catching up to you. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, 50 is where it catches up to you. And I was like, I'm 44. I was like, fuck. And then I heard him say that, and he was like, I never thought it would catch up to you. You just never think.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I should really look at this as a lifestyle. We were talking about that when we were coming in. I should look at this as a lifestyle change. I really need to make some solid changes in my lifestyle because I'm not a fucking 33-year-old headliner anymore. This kid that's excited to be out on the road. I'm a working comic. I need to.
And you're a human being.
Well, you forget about that sometimes. You
Yeah,
forget that you're a human and
Not the machine.
And the biggest problem with giving yourself a nickname.
Wait, you didn't.
I gave myself the nickname The Machine.
Oh, man.
I said to them, I meant to say
You're
I'm the
the
man, and I
machine.
said I'm the machine. And it was a mistake, but
Dude, I gave myself a nickname once. Diss, dude. In 8th grade, I told my friends, I go, hey, I want you guys to start calling me Diss. And they go, why? And I go, because, I'm a goalie in soccer, and I diss everybody. And they were like, hey, man, I don't think that's going to stick. And I was like, all right, man.
what's up, Dis?
What's up, Diss? Didn't that sound tight? By the way, can I just tell you something I came up with the other day that I don't know how to get it to catch on, but I think it should be a thing.
What's that?
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you what the phrase is. And I think there's multiple meanings for it, but I think it's dope. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Bitch heavy.
Well, I like it.
Yeah, of course you do. Like, dude, look at you coming here with those new sneakers all bitch heavy. You know what I mean? Or someone's giving an attitude like, dude, what's she getting all bitch heavy on everybody for?
Oh.
Dude, bitch heavy. I don't know how to do it, but I'm gonna find a way to make that happen. Just know, like I said it here first, bitch heavy.
I was really good at, I believe, coming up with phrases. I would come up with my fraternity. I would call people certain names, and they would it would stick. Like I remember saying, this guy came through. It was another organization I was in, and he came through, and I liked him a lot. And they're like, I don't know about that guy. And I go, guys, he's top shelf. And they're like, top shelf? I go, yeah. Like he's not well. He's top shelf. And they were like, okay. And that stuck. Everyone started calling people top shelf, and I was like, nice. So then I came up with a phrase that I had heard someone else say, but I thought I'd come up with it. And I was like, that guy's the cat's pajamas.
Oh my God.
And everyone's like, I'm sorry. And I was like, he's the cat's pajamas. And they're like,
what are you, a
"The cat's
jazz singer in the
pajamas?"
20s, dude?
And they were like, you're fucking joking, right? And I go, no, that's the cat's pajamas.
Dude, come on. Look at this guy.
Oh, what was the...
You sound like a sax player, like playing back clubs.
So, and this is before you could Google stuff. So someone's like, I think I've heard that before in and so apparently I think it's someone else's phrase that I appropriated and was like, it's the cat's pajamas. I was good about that. I would give myself a bunch of nicknames: the B-Man, Nature Boy, Double Dribble.
Double Dribble's a tight nickname.
Yeah, it's out of a story I had told Ralph Sampson when I was a kid. He was at a camp. He was like, "Is anyone here party?" And I raised my hand, thinking we were all raising our hands. And he's like, "How do you party?" I said, "I party hardy." And he was like, "Huh?" I said, "I party hardy." And he's like, "How do you party hardy?" I said, "With both hands." And then I was like, they call me Double Dribble.
Oh my God!
So yeah, it was me trying to be
Double Dribble, man. That's the spot.
What's up, Double Dribble? Not much. I party hard with both hands. I gave myself a bunch of nicknames. My kids give me nicknames. My kids haven't called me Dad as a first class moniker, meaning like that's where they go. It's Bertang's, Bertangulus Boy, Bertie Gaga, Bertrude McFuzz. I was bruh for a while.
What's up, brah?
Yeah, my dude. I'm my dude right now. What's up, my dude?
Oh my God,
that fucking drives me nuts.
What do you mean? You just want Dad?
Oh.
I told my kids they call me
What?
Pops.
Oh, I like
that.
that.
You call me Pops. So he'll call me Dad. I go, what else you call me? He goes, Pops. And every now and then he'll go, hey, Pops. And I'm like, oh, you just want to get fucking. That's the best. That's what I want. Like when they're teenagers, I'm like, hey, Pops. That's what I want to be called. Don't take that, dude. I mean, anyone can be called Pops, but I just fucking love that shit.
My dad, my wife's a redneck, so her dad is named Papa J. Mm-hmm. That's what they call him. But her grandmother's a Meemaw. Then she has a Peepaw, a Pawpaw, and that's what they call their grandparents, and then a Granny.
Okay.
And when my dad was like, I want to be called Papa, but my daughters heard it in so they call him Papa. But it's the pronunciation's off. There's
it's
like a
just
W
where they put we used to say Belbivdevo.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Like you guys are from Venezuela.
Yeah,
Belbivdevo, Rottweiler, Budweiser.
Right, or like 90210.
90210.
When 90 used to be on.
Wait, how do you say cement?
Cement.
Cement.
No one says cement. What
I
are
say
you just
cement.
Fucking? No one says that, dude. It's cement.
Concrete.
No.
Wait, now I think I'm fucking.
Now you're all over the fucking
Concrete.
place. Are you still watering that pool?
No, I'm done.
When's that going to be done? Pools don't take this long.
They take longer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, pools are. I remember a pool being put in and swimming in it the next day. So what they do is you can put in a pool. It takes I think it takes they dig the hole, they lay the concrete. All of a sudden there's a hole and there's a pool looking thing in your backyard, but it takes 2 weeks of hosing it down to let the Marmite or whatever it's called set. You gotta let it settle because it's got to be moist. That's because we're in LA, and so this is all me guessing. But in LA, you got to let it, because there's no humidity out here, so you got to water it down twice a day. Then once you do that, then they start pouring in the outside. I forget what it's called, but now they're pouring in the outside. It's like the perimeter of it. I think the next thing they do is they spray the Pebble Tech, and then If you get Pebble Tech, which is a little more expensive, but not really because our pool's so small, it's only like a grand or $2,000 more. Whereas for a big pool, it would be a lot more. So a lot of people choose not to do it. They get just straight up plaster. If you get plaster, you got to wait 29 days with water in it where you can't go swimming in it.
What about if you get tile, son?
Oh shit! Yeah. I think then you're a baller.
Yeah,
if you get tiles.
I was telling someone this the other day, and I have to remember this because this is something I need to totally make a joke about. Is tile in the bathroom. Was when I was a kid, we had a guest bathroom, and I told you my mother was interior design stuff, and the floor was this blue tile with like green like marbling in it, and we got that tile from my mother's friend. Who they took it out of their pool. They redid their pool. We used their leftover tile for our bathroom. I'm like, that's when you know you don't have, when other people have money. That was the first time I heard what rich was. I'm like, wait, we're using their old pool tile so we have a floor in this bathroom? That was dope. But tile, that's when I was like, oh man, I want a tile pool someday.
I'll tell you all the things I wanted. And by the way, these are things I don't think I'll ever have, but I assumed I'd have. And I'm coming to terms with this. We talked about this on my walk with my wife today. Our friends just bought a $2.5 million house. And I was like, oh, I want one. And because they're building one right next door to it. And my wife goes, we can't afford it. And I go, no, we can. I just have to work every single fucking week. And in my head, I'm like, wait, hold on. So wait, I was like, I'll never have a $2.5 million house. I'm never going to have a, like we bought this house in 2008 at the bottom of the market for nothing.
Yeah.
And it's a great house. I love this house.
It's a great
house.
I
love
dude.
This house. But the idea that this is the top of the mountain for me, this house scared me. I went, well, hold on. I'm never going to have like I always wanted a pool like this, but in the middle of a yard that was square and huge and ran into the grass. I'd seen Rod Stewart had one of those. And I was like, oh, I want one of those. I always wanted a boat. I don't think I'm ever going to have a fucking boat. I always thought I'd have a private island. I watched way too much Cribs. I was like, I'm never going to have a private island.
Can I tell you, I've always wanted that same pool. And
yes.
we put a bid in a house in Toluca Lake a couple years ago when we had some money. And we didn't get it. And it had the pool that was just there. It wasn't like there wasn't cement around it.
Yeah.
It was just the pool was there with one round of bricks.
Yes.
Just one thing of brick around it. And it was just green grass up to a pool. And
that's JFK, Martha Vineyard shit right there.
Yeah. Or Martha's Vineyard. Either one, dude. I mean, Martha Vineyard is the most underrated of all the islands, dude. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks about Martha's, but Martha.
They meet you at the dock, and they're like, you forgot the S, huh?
Sorry,
like,
man.
We're totally different. This is Martha.
Martha's a little further out, man.
I don't even make wine. I make.
My friend just stayed at Ted Danson's house out on Martha's Vineyard.
Really?
Yeah. You think you want to talk about things you don't got? Try 20 acres on Martha's Vineyard with 3 houses.
Do you ever think about that in life? About like, do you ever not keep up with the Joneses, but do you ever covet?
Well, our life is keeping up with the Joneses, especially in LA. I mean, I think it's everywhere, and like what social media's done, and just like Instagram, you're just like, you just feel like so disconnected. But I have like I'm like a standard of living type guy, like so. I could make way more money too if I was on the road, but I like to be home and be around my family. And, I don't do the road really because I like to be home and I want to coach Little League and I want to be a part of this shit. So I've been driving a 2000 Ford Explorer for the last 7 years that I bought for $1,500 off my buddy Jordan at brunch. He was going to leave brunch to go to Carfax or CarMax to sell his car. And I'm like, don't leave. We're having a blast. He goes, I got to get rid of this car, dude. I'm getting a new car. I'm done with this car. 7 years ago, dude. I looked at Kate. I'm like, how about we just buy it? Because I needed a car. And he's like, done. $1,500. I still drive it. The passenger side door doesn't open from the outside and the window doesn't go down. So like if you valet, I have to reach out the back window, open it, and then explain to the guy, all right, man, this is how you got to work the door. And like forever, my wife's like, just get a car, would you? And I'm just like, there's certain things I want and don't want. So like, yeah, keeping up with the Jones. All my friends own houses. I'm watching all my friends. We rent a duplex, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm like super happy with my kids. And like, I go into there, they share a room and we love being in there and them sharing a room. And then like I'll be like going to the bathroom, or I'll be taking a shower and I hear the doorknob like, and then the door open, and then the curtain pull back, and it's my daughter going, "Daddy," and like holding up like a little cat, and then leaves. And I'm like, if I lived in a $2.5 million home, my fucking daughter's not going to be coming down the hallway opening the door, because I'm going to be upstairs in the master suite in the shower, where she's going to be down in the kids' play. You know what I mean? So like for me right now, I've just like really tried to grow an appreciation for like what I have, and like
that's Leanne. I'm the opposite in that I'm the opposite in the sense that a little bit, not entirely. I don't really care to keep up with the Joneses, but I do like neat, nice stuff. Leanne is like you. We have a 2000 Mercedes that is infested with black widow spiders that Leanne refuses to get rid of.
Yeah.
And she's been bit twice, and she still won't get rid of it. I had to make the call and go, I call my business manager. I go, I'm going to buy a new car. I'm doing that today. I will have the car dealership call you. I will tell you the car I want. Don't tell me I can't afford it. I'm not getting in this fucking car.
Yeah.
But we had both our cars. We have I think like a 2005 Expedition. So it's in great shape.
Yeah.
But it's torn up because of the girls.
Yeah.
My wife's like, I'm not getting a new fucking truck. You don't buy new trucks. Like in LA, you buy new trucks. In the world, when you have a truck, you keep that truck because that's your truck.
That's your truck.
And so she's like, we're not buying. It's paid off. We got a great tax or great settlement for something, and so we paid that car off. We had the Mercedes for free, so my mom gave it to us. So we had 2 cars, no payments, and I was like, and we had it like that for like 7 years. I go, babe, we're getting a new fucking car. Like I would like a new car. Like I would like a nice car. She's like, listen, we can keep our nut at below our nut per month.
Yeah.
Is ridiculously low because Leanne just has worked it.
That's great. That's great. I mean, that's got to be a thing, because I always say this, like you look at like athletes and you're like, all right, that dude that just got into the NFL, or like, let's say you just got your deal where you're making $7 million a year for the next 5 years, none of it, which is like, all right, so that's 35 mil. Let's say like 18's guaranteed.
Right.
That dude should live his life like he makes $250,000 a year. If you want to live the rest of your life like you make $250 or even $400,000 a year, whatever, instead of living like you make $7 million a year, because you don't, and it's never going to be there, and do you want to leave money aside for your kids when you leave? You know what I mean? Do you want to be able to afford this funeral at the Wiltern? You know what I mean? So
I'm definitely the pro athlete that's like, dude, I signed for $20 million. I'm spending 21.
I know you are, dude.
And Leanne, I brought home a check one time from a corporate gig. It was a big check, like for stand up. It was a big check, and I was like, I dropped it on the table. I go, what do you got to say about that? And you know what she said? We just keep half. I went, what?
That's the way to go, man. Earn half your money.
I was like, what? She's like, we just keep half. So let's not go ahead and spend all of it. Like, let's realize that we keep half. So
that's going to be my thing with my kids. Every time they make $1, I'm like, you make 50 cents.
Oh,
you get 50 cents of that. We put the other 50 cents away.
Can I tell you a Leanne Kreischer lesson she taught my Georgia, my oldest, that is a Jay Larson teachable moment? She said, Georgia needs new winter clothes. I think this is a great time to explain to her the value of coupons.
Okay.
So she got a coupon from Macy's and said, I want to make sure that Georgia knows there's no shame in using coupons.
Did you just do this on your Instagram story?
Instagram.
Yeah.
And so she took Georgia out clothes shopping to Macy's with a 40% off coupon and said, whatever it is in Macy's, I want Georgia to be able to go, and because I have a hard time, I don't look at price tags.
Yeah.
Which is fine if you're in, like, if I'm buying a pair of shoes. Like I know what a nice pair of sneakers costs.
Okay, go ahead.
If I'm buying jeans at the Gap, I know they're not going to be. I don't go and do that with like really expensive like artwork and shit like that. But like I do it like I don't look at I know I need a new pair of jeans from the Gap. I'm buying a new pair of jeans for the Gap.
Yeah.
I know I need new sneakers on Amazon. I'll see the price tag. I know I'm not going to spend $200 on sneakers, but I may spend like $90 on sneakers.
Sure.
I don't look at price tags very often, and it came back to bite me in the ass with this hat. I bought at the Rams game, and it was like $57, and I didn't look at the price tag, and I ended up buying one for my friend's kid, and it was like $112 or something, and I was like, fuck. But I got embarrassed, and I was afraid to go. I can afford them, but I don't plan on spending
$57 on a hat.
Right. So Leanne's like, I don't want our kids growing up like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, yesterday, I was grocery food shopping with my daughter, and I go to the guy, I'm like, hey man, what do you think's a good steak for a kid? Like, I like making steak for the kids, but what's a good one? And he goes, I don't know, filet, ribeye. And I go, are you out of your fucking mind? I go, I'm not buying a kid a filet, dude. I go, I'm good, man. And I wouldn't even buy meat.
Flap steak.
Well, give me something that's like tender but not expensive. That's what I'm not dropping.
Flap steak. I just bought flap steaks for the girls last night.
What's
I cooked up
flap steak?
Same as flank steak, or same as skirt steak almost.
But it's super thin.
Super thin, super fatty, like really tender. You cut it. I'm terrified for choking reasons. So what I do is I take them, I grill them like probably 3 minutes per side, 5 minutes per side. The girls like them a little more well done. Season them with just salt and pepper, and then I roll them up and I cut them against the grain.
Yeah.
Real thin, and then I go ahead and I chop them up for the girls. I don't want them choking on anything.
Gotcha.
But it's a thin fatty.
So
It's
funny.
really juicy. The girls fucking love it.
I mean, I didn't do it, but last time I did ribeye because it was like $12.99 a pound. It was like on sale. I'm like, oh, let's do that.
Oh, this was like yesterday. It was $7. By the way, I do check prices on meats. Oddly enough, because they get jacked up in LA.
Crazy.
You can go in and they go, oh, I'll take a fillet. Oh, that's $25 per pound. You're like, hold on, are you cooking it for me?
Yeah,
like that.
And then you're going to serve it?
Yeah, you can go to Smart and Final and get a fucking whole tenderloin fillet for like fucking $111. That's like fucking, like, I don't know, but it's cheaper. And then you cut it up yourself. You got to, now granted, you got to cut out the silver thing.
Yeah.
How long have we been going? 2 hours? We should probably wrap this up soon.
Let's wrap it up.
But yeah, you know what I think about you sometimes, and I used to joke and say this about myself, and I kind of wished I was more like this. Rogan is like this, and this is we'll come full circle with my compliment to you. You are, and you won't like this compliment, but you are a lifestyle brand. What you like in life is interesting to all of us. If you had a blog of like shit Jay likes,
I have one.
Are you serious?
It's on my website. I mean, I have a blog on my website.
And do you put your limoncello recipe up?
No, but I made fig jam at home. Like my neighbor had figs.
Yeah.
But I like my blog is like, they're like a little bit longer because I'm not just talking about the fact that I made fig jam. I'm talking about the fact that like what I like about community is that a neighbor can have a fig tree that's bustling and they don't know what to do with the figs, and they call you, and I talk about the experience of going over with my kids and learning that, hey, you like go into the house and you say hello to everybody, and then you take the figs, and then like we get home, and now every time my son bites into his peanut butter and fig sandwich at school, he knows, or he doesn't know, but I know that I made the actual jam that he's eating, and there's something about that like resonates with me. So like my blog is, I like people, I like comedy, people, design, food, and booze, and that's what this blog is about. So like there's a post about with me and David Lynch from working with David Lynch. There's a post about going to Falling Water, Frank Lloyd Wright's home in Pennsylvania.
What was that? You just posted something about working with David Lynch.
I was in Twin Peaks, I was in that. So like I got to work with David Lynch and like had a heart to heart with him, and like
what was
crushed.
What was the heart to heart? You mentioned something.
I didn't talk
about
like what actually happened, but like we had this whole conversation about his dad, and like he was telling me about like what his dad did, and like it was just me and him. And then he was like, yeah, my dad worked Forest Fire Watch in Montana, and we were talking about it, and Jack Kerouac did that, and I used to be a huge Kerouac guy, and like when he wrote Dharma Bums, he lived up there in California doing that.
Dharma Bums.
Yeah, it's the best.
Sometimes I jump rock to rock and sing out haikus.
Really? Is that what he's saying in that?
And it's the only thing I remember from Dharma Bums.
Oh, but that was my favorite book of Kerouac's, because it was the only one where he was like really kind of sober. He was like, he was drinking port and stuff like that. But so I just looked at him and I go, oh, kind of like Kerouac. And he was like taken back, and he looked at me and he goes, yeah. And I go, all right, man, I'll see you Wednesday. And I left, and I just fucking dropped Mike on David Lynch. So like I write about all those things that like I have an interest in, because I'm just trying to like, I want to like get that exercise down of like writing one time a week, something like longer format about something that interests me. So that's what I do.
I've been doing that this week or this month with sobriety. I write in the mornings, but sometimes it's been really short, sometimes it's been long, but just about like trying to figure out what's going on in my head about how do I incorporate this into a healthy lifestyle change where I continue to be who I am and who I have been, and don't change the essence of me. And I do like drinking. I don't want to stop drinking, but I need to find the things in my life that make drinking fun again.
Yeah.
Like I need to find like working out or my source energy, like getting outside. I love that you have that blog.
Yeah, I like
can't
it
wait
because
to
and I want to share. Like, if I want people to come to me, like, you know, they find me through something in comedy and then realize like, oh, he has interest in other things and I also have those interests, and so then maybe they connect to that and want to, you know, hear about it and then find a way to like tie it back into like my approach to life. You know,
Man, you're a fascinating guy.
not really, but I appreciate that, Bert.
No, you totally are.
Thanks, man.
I'm glad I've known you as long as we have.
I know it's been a long
I feel
time.
like I feel like, you know, I will say I think we're friends. I don't,
For sure.
But I do like, the thing I love about this business is you have friends that you don't keep up with every day, but when you catch up, you have a
can't.
shorthand that you don't have to. There's not a lot of reintroduction. It's just back right. Like Thune is a perfect example. I run into Nick and I can just like he's texting me for the Rams game because he was there for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if I was drinking, I'd go fucking party with him right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, he has one of my favorite intros to this podcast ever. We started the podcast, and then he just goes, can I have a swig of your vodka? I'm having a fucking shaky morning. And I was like, let's both get drunk.
Oh my God,
God, I love that guy. So what's your specials at jlarson.com?
jlarsoncomedy.com.
jlarsoncomedy.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's called
Me Being Me.
Me Being Me. And
It's really great. I'm really proud of it. I'm like, you know, I saw the thing through from start to finish, so it's cool, man. I'm proud of it.
I'm proud of you, man. That's
Thanks,
fucking
buddy.
awesome.
Thanks, man.
I'll talk to you after this about where I see specials going in the future because I'm going through that right now.
Yeah,
but I
bet.
do think there's a way in that not right now for you, but in like 6 months, I think there's something to be done that will increase your touring exponentially.
I hope so.
I want to talk to you about it afterwards. And what was the other thing I wanted to tell you? There's another secret I wanted to tell you.
Ooh, secrets.
Secret time.
Hey, you can tell me after.
I can't remember what it is. Anyway, well, dude.
Thanks for having me on, dude.
I appreciate it, man. I love you. And
You
fuck
too,
the
bud.
Crab Feast.
5 stars, man.
5 stars. Fuck the Crab Feast. If you guys don't know, you can find me. I was on like 6 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was
It's
beautiful.
you and Sickler.
Yeah.
You guys do live shows. I saw you guys did some theater in Baltimore when I was in Baltimore, and I was like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah,
I was
for
like,
sure.
that's where everyone is tonight.
Get out of here.
I love you, Jay, man.
You too, buddy.
Congratulations.
Thanks, buddy.
This episode was brought to you by The Machine.